It's finally happened. The Lon and Loncar show. How long has this been in the making, Michael Loncar?
Too long.
I'm Lon McEachern, Michael Loncar, and at last we will say, well, just about anywhere you're watching, it's good morning. Almost midnight here, local time at Stone's Gambling Hall in Citrus Heights, California, and we have the final table for you in this what has almost been a week-long event, the Quantum.
It's been a marathon tournament.
It's lots of day ones. Today was day 2. We're down to our final 9, and it has been an epic battle. It's been a very interesting event the whole way, Mike.
Yeah. It's a very unique tournament. It started off with 5 starting flights for $120 buy-in, 10,000 starting stacks, and 10% of those fields made it to day 2. And then there were 2 flights with a $240 buy-in, 20,000 starting stack. 20% of those fields made it to day 2. And here we are down to the final 9. 9 players here with the dream of walking away with a $28,000 victory. So
there was, I think, 3 people who cashed 3 times. I mean, if you qualified once, you get the immediate 250 cash at the end of the day.
Yep.
If you qualify a second time, you get 900.
Yep.
And then if you qualify again, you get another 900.
Yeah.
And then you can make the cash today. So some folks cash 4 times in this event.
Wow.
I mean, it's quite a concept. And the folks we have here tonight, some you've seen before, some new faces, big stacks, short stacks. We had 2 knockouts right at the very end. They got us down to the short table here, the final table. And so it's going to be fun. And now it comes down to playing poker. No matter how you got here, no matter how many chips you have, and we've seen 2 players here who have been down to almost nothing. One got down to a single chip not long ago, and he ran it up. He's got over $1 million,
Chip in a chair.
$1.2 million. Francisco, we'll see. And so as we get to the action, our chip leader is going to be Steve in seat 7. You'll see him on a beard bet. We go around the table. There's Andrew with $1.1 million, local player. If you're here at Stones, you see Andrew. And then next to Andrew is Karen. She's here once in a while. Doesn't live here. Got properties here. She's
played her a few times.
Yeah, a very tough player. And you see in the beard there is our chip leader, but Texas Jack in seat 3, aka Pete, one of our short stacks, 740,000 is a short stack. And the other short stack right next to him is Tom, retired Air Force. Thank you for your service, sir. Another short stack there was 760,000. Francisco was down to 10,000 chips. 1 chip he had at one point. Shoved it all in with kings, and he's run it up to the final table. He's got $1.2 million now. Brockman, Eric, he's going by. He's been the final table before.
Yep.
We saw him last year. Or earlier this year, actually. And then there is Steve, our chip leader, with $3.4 million. Sean next to him with $1.2 million. All these guys, talk to them, and you saw them, and you've seen them. Really nice people.
Yeah.
Stephen was just driving from the Bay Area, going back to Reno, and said, "Hey, I'll check this out. I bought it today."
Nice.
So now, if you were going to have a strategy for this, and you were prohibited from making the final table because you're working with me tonight, you could qualify earlier on, like you mentioned, or drop in today at 11 o'clock, pay 900 and get 100,000 chips, which I think at least 3 of our final tablists did today.
Yep.
What would have been your preferred strategy for this?
If I were to come in for the $900 start?
No, just from the beginning. From the beginning, yeah. Would you just try all bullets?
I actually almost played Friday's flight. I had obligations today that couldn't allow me to play this tournament at all, unfortunately. But I was really actually leaning towards, if I had to. Obviously, probably the best thing if you could just fire every flight to try and get the additional $900 and advance the bigger stacking would probably be the best. If you only could play it once, I think the best strategy would have been the $240. You start with 20,000 chips. Mm-hmm. Only you don't have to make it to the final 20% to get the 250 back and make it to day 2. And those $240 flights just had so many more chips in play rather than the 10,000. I think that would have been the way to go.
All right. Well, we'll see. They'll do it again, I'm sure. But so short stack Tom here, faced with a raise from Karen, ace-7 off. Tom with pocket jacks and a short stack, all in for 970.
What a beautiful spot. It folds around to the button. Karen makes a pretty standard raise on the button with A7 offsuit. And her size amount here, she made it 300,000. It's only going to be another 670,000 for her to call with A7 offsuit. She's getting a pretty good price. She has Tom covered by quite a large sum
Yeah,
here.
she started with about 2.8 million. He was starting the final table with 760,000. They played a hand or two. So
The hard part about this is she has to figure that she's going to be dominated here quite often by a bigger ace or a pocket pair sevens or bigger. But
she can't figure she's ahead.
No, definitely not.
No, she's got to hit the
King-
ace.
King,
the
queen
seven's
is
not going
yes.
to play for her. So,
King, Queen, King Jack is very wishful thinking.
So it comes down to, do you want to risk this for one of 3 cards in the deck? And she's not suited.
And the percentages that you guys see on the screen here, these are the percentages that include everyone else's folded cards. So obviously, they're probably, I didn't see all of the cards there, but there are probably 3 aces or 2 aces left in the deck here for her to have this 38%.
So Karen lives in the Bay Area. As I said, she retired, semi-retired, she said, in the high-tech industry. But if you run up against her, and we have, very astute player. She was in Las Vegas just a couple of days ago. Finished 9th in a horse event in Las Vegas. Was going to fly back for the Planet Hollywood $1 million guarantee. Got a little tired, didn't go back. Decided to play here, and now she's made this final table. She bought in today for 900.
Yeah, she's doing the math. She's trying to figure out if she has the right price. It's 670 to win 1.4 million. Better than 2 to 1 on her money, but she knows she's crushed.
Yeah.
And I really can't blame her for making this fold.
No, and people will talk about the math, and I know you love tournaments.
Yeah.
I love tournaments.
Yes.
And there's math to be had. I think that, now tell me what you think. The math that comes into poker is more pertinent, and maybe not by much work, to cash games than it is to tournament.
I totally agree. And I think that a spot like that, for example, just because you're going to be around 35% and it's only 35% more to call to win the pot, I do think there are a lot more spots in tournaments that you should be folding, because maintaining your stack and keeping your stack is so important, rather than in a cash game where it's just pure value, like as you said, and pure math. I think there is a lot more to be said about making some of these folds that a lot of people would say the word standard. You have to call it because it's standard because of the odds. I think it's definitely. I think there are a lot of spots that players should fold when they have the quote unquote math to call.
Right. No, I mean, she knew she was behind.
Yes.
And she's second in chips right now. That is worth a lot.
Yes.
And as we've said so many times, that chips lost are more valuable than chips won.
Of course.
And at that point, the pay jump, if she knocks, Tom out, the pay jump goes, it's $800 or something.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So it's, again, it comes down to your personality, I guess.
Yep.
And whether you're wrong and we're right out there, okay? So Andrew in C1, Jack 10 off in the hijack. And if you have any questions about anything, shoot us a little note on Twitch. He can read it. I don't have my glasses on, but I'll try to read it.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us here in the chat. You guys
Fat
are always,
Train. Hey, Fat Train.
Fat Train, what's up?
What are you doing up so early?
So a pretty wide raise there from Andrew. He raised 250K, 2.5 times the big blind with Jack 10 offsuit. Only had 800,000 behind, but it was a nice risk for him. He took down the blinds and antes, and average stack was right around 16 big blinds here to start the final table.
Yeah, and it's exciting. For us who are here regularly, to look at first place, almost 29,000.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
that is nice.
It does not happen at your local card room very often. And talking to Justin Karitis, our tournament director here, and early on they were way above the projected numbers.
Oh yeah.
And the people here took to this tournament in a big way. 51 buy-ins today for 900.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high.
51 buy-ins today. They had already crushed the guarantee, and then they had 51 more buy-ins today at the highest buy-in for 100,000.
Nice.
And that added a lot of chips to the total. We got over, I just see 15 million chips in play. Steve, our chip leader. leader, ace king off, and the blinds are a monster. Now, I mean, we've been playing forever. The blinds at 50 and 100,000, 10K ante. So Steve's going to do the 2.3x.
I really like that sizing.
And as we go through, I really want to pull out your tournament expertise about a final table. I've been lucky enough to make the final table last 2 Sundays in the last Sunday event, which, by the way, next Sunday is the last Sunday in November. So bring your turkey sandwiches in. Stone's last Sunday of the month, next Sunday here. I'm going to go back to back to back, so you can join me at the final table.
That's right.
Fine. But to bring out, I think the local final table is obviously going to be different than what we see on TV and what I'm used to with the World Series of Poker and calling that. It's a different makeup of people.
Yeah.
It's certainly different play.
Oh, yeah.
And when we go back and look at our play, we go, oh my God, why did I do that? But it'll be fun to get, a local take on local play on at a final table and how to be successful there. Not necessarily going up against a Daniel Negreanu or Phil Hubbard.
Yeah.
How to make it be successful here. And from what I've learned the last couple of months, aggression is key.
Aggression wins in tournaments. It really does.
And that's going to be true anywhere. But when you've got a World Series of Poker final table and that skill level, everybody knows what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
So you have to play it a different way.
Yeah.
Here, nothing against the players, nothing against anybody else, but it's a different skill level.
It is.
And you can get away with stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we'll look for that tonight. We'll try to find out who's being aggressive. And you can learn from these. You can come down here to Stones and play with me at the final table next week.
That's right, 3 in a row. Yeah, I had the privilege of commentating on your final table last Sunday of the month tournament, and I actually had the privilege of losing a big pot to you with a full house versus you straight flush at the World Series of Poker circuit a few weeks ago.
That was the only hand I won with that bullet.
It was.
I got a story too, I think, for my second bullet.
Oh yeah? That's that?
Yeah. I mean, it was 9:30 at night. We were 30 from the money.
Yeah.
The chip average was 124,000. This was a 600,000 chip pot.
Oh wow.
And I was going up against a guy who he and I had words. I don't have words with anybody. I'm a good guy. But this guy ticked me off.
He was coming at you.
He said something really snarky early in the day when I sucked out on him with. He had 3-4, the flop was 3-4-6.
Okay.
And I'm kind of short, and I get it all in with pocket nines, and I river a 9. It's like, how would I think you have 3-4, right?
Yeah.
So he waited an hour and a half before he said anything until he had the clock called on him. He says, I wish I could just get it in without thinking like you do.
Wow.
And it went up and escalated from there. Anyway, so this is the guy I'm up against, and I've got aces, a 4-way pot, and it's going to be 600,000 with the average 124,000. And I finally get 2 folds after I shove, and he calls on a diamond draw and rivers the diamond.
A pain.
And then won the ring.
He won the tournament.
And he won the tournament.
Oh my gosh. That's bad enough if you actually liked the guy.
I will not name him.
Okay.
I will not name him. It was his 7th ring, by the way.
Oh wow.
He should have had a little more class. Okay, on to Stone's quantum final. But yeah, mostly local players here. As I mentioned,
Steven raised there from under the gun with ace-5 of hearts and took it down. And ace-5 of hearts is actually, a lot of people don't know the strength the ace-5 suited has.
How many ways it can work?
It's not ace-2 suited, not ace-3 suited, not ace-4 suited, but ace-5 suited specifically. It can flop so many different, just good flops. Obviously, you got the flush draw.
Both ways,
You
yeah.
can flop even just the high end, the 6, 7, 8 flop. It gives you an open ender. You're flipping a coin against 2s, 3s, and 4s against short stacks. It's a really powerful hand.
Are there a number of hands like that are just ingrained in your mind where they stand out, like there's a spotlight on them when you look at them?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's one of them.
That's definitely one of them. Yeah, a lot of people don't know about the ace-5 suited. It's a secret I think a secretly strong hand that it's interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, when you think about it, obviously, yeah, it goes both ways, and why.
I've actually been coaching a few players over the last few months, and we've worked Ace-5 suited in as one of their 3-betting hands. Actually.
Oh, is that right?
It's actually it play especially in deep stack cash games, can definitely play really well.
Is it position dependent?
Yes, definitely position dependent. And here we go, Brocken, loving life. When you look down at Ace King offsuit with 16 big blinds in the cutoff, he's definitely coming in for a raise.
Eric Brockman, he's a skateboard manufacturer type guy, and I called his final table here at one of the last Sunday events back in April or something like that.
It's always interesting, like you said, in these tournaments here at Stones, the local tournaments, to see the varying different amount of sizings there. Eric opened to 3.25 times the big blind there, 325,000.
Excuse me, I got a Trump for a second. A little water. I don't know Fiji, but it's all right. So just as a little point, just the plaques are out there. Normally they are the biggest physically, but the biggest denomination. They have added, because there's 15 million chips in play, and the room ran out of chips. Who would have thought? They have bounty chips out there, the gray ones that say Stones on them. Normally a bounty chip. They're worth 100,000 each. So
Nice.
You'll see a small gray chip. And we'll try to find. Probably our chip leader has a few. They're scattered around the table.
Yeah, you can see them right there.
But the yellows are 10K. The lavenders are 20 or 5. The lavenders are 5K. Yeah, 5K.
Yep.
And the plaques are worth 25K. The big ones, and a lot of them. So they moved pretty quickly. I mean, even though it was starting late, I mean, it was a monster field. Steve, boy, chip leader again, the nice hand, Ace-Jack suited.
Ace-Jack suited in the cutoff. See if he stays to his 2.3x raise like last time. Looks like it's 230,000.
And even if he doesn't have Ace-Jack suited, how active do you want Steve to be as the chip leader?
I mean, you definitely want to be opening really wide from the cutoff and the button when it's folded to you, and take advantage of your stack and your leverage. And this is a really interesting spot. Andrew with King Queen suited.
Andrew,
he's got 12 big blinds behind.
Yeah.
I could definitely see him flat calling or 3-bet shoving here.
That's a call, I think.
600,000 the pot. Big pot already.
Oh, where is it? Come on, bring it out. No paint.
And this will be a flop. I expect to see Steve bet, but if there was a flop for him to check back, this might be the flop. It's without knowing what the big blind has, you have to figure that the big blind might be defending a pretty large range of hands that fit well with this flop. But in this case,
yeah, I don't see Andrew as a defender of a wide range.
That's true.
And Steve's played with him all day. Steve doesn't play here a lot. He's from Carmichael, made some final tables. He finished 7th at a 2,500 or 250K event at Thunder for 11,000 a couple years ago. So he knows what he's doing. He's been around. Double qualified, so he at the 250 and the 900 cash. 280,000 here on the continuation bet.
And looks like Steve's going to take it down.
Long way to go to make your hand, Andrew. It's going to be very expensive from this point on.
I definitely think that Andrew played this hand. What's the wording?
Correctly or incorrectly?
I think he played it correctly.
Timid, or was it?
I think he played it correctly. I think with the especially there are a lot of kind of short stacks. Just the opportunity just to ladder up a few spots just by sitting back and waiting. And if you do 3-bet shove there with King Queen suited, you're generally always going to get called and be behind right there in a spot where you just don't need to shove. You can flat call, see if you hit the flop or not. move on to the next hand as he does, and you're still right in the middle of the pack here with 10 or 11 big blinds left, and he's going to be on the button next hand and can wait for a spot, and hopefully another player or two will get knocked out and move up the payout ladder just a little bit.
Yeah, so the payout's 2,200 for ninth, 3,000 for eighth. These are kind of rounded up. 4K for seventh. So those are the next three payouts. Our chip leader now 4 million, with only 15 million in play. That is quite a stack. And he's got a huge stack of everything. And so you see Andrew close up right there and took a hit with King Queen. He's got to play the King Queen, of course. You know.
And here we go, Texas Jack under the gun with King Queen offsuit with 7 big blinds. Definitely would like to see a shove here. Really don't see any other play.
First deep run for Texas Jack. So he was a bit nervous. He's a big rig driver for Pepsi. Biggest cash is about $500, so he's guaranteed.
Nice.
Four times that.
Nice. These spots are always very interesting to me in these types of tournaments when you see someone with 7 big blinds without holding a big pocket pair, raise to 200,000 here.
He's getting his feet wet here in the big time.
It's going to be very interesting to see if he gets a call and doesn't hit the flop, what he does. He only has 5 big blinds left.
He's getting a call from Steven, pocket threes. That's more than a call. Is he putting them all in? Or no, those plaques were 25. That's a big stack when they get 200,000. That would have been a...
And here we go, 2 calls.
Oh, Karen's going to come along with 8-5. There's a 5.
5 in the window, and a very interesting spot here.
Oh my goodness. Karen can't think she's best, but
yes,
why is she here if she doesn't want to hit the 8 or the 5?
And this is actually a pretty good spot for Steven to take a poke at it.
For any
Can't really imagine that Texas Jack has an ace with checking here with only 530,000 on a diamond flop with an ace. Karen could be defending really wide with a hand like that, and there you go. And he's not drawing dead, obviously, with the 3 with a straight draw. And great position, aggression, as we were talking about a second ago, and he wins the pot.
Interesting.
And once again, I think that was just an absolute necessary shove by King Queen there. I would guess that Steven would probably fold his 3s on the button for 730,000.
Yeah.
With 2 hands behind him as well, and he probably just would have taken down the blinds and moved on right there. But
well, you know, as I mentioned, Texas Jack. I talked to him and he said, I said, what about deep runs? Before this is my first time. He said, it was so sweet, you know, to hear that from him and to have that opportunity to work his way through. And let's see, what did he bought it for 900. So Texas,
oh wow,
so that's 4. So he bought it today.
Well, hopefully for his sake, a couple people will get knocked out here, and that minimum raise there will make him feel good about laddering up a couple more spots.
And you know what happens is, I mean, he's here for the first time. It's his biggest poker score ever, and he's got to feel like it doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah.
So he's going to take a shot, but he doesn't want the experience to end either.
Yeah,
so he doesn't want to shove.
I understand it.
It's that hard. That's very tough. I was stuck in that mode for like 5 years. You know, I just want to be here and play.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. And so you gotta feel for the guy. And now, and he's a very real world example of why he should have shoved. Now he's sitting here with 500,000, and he's got no options at this point.
Yeah, there's just certain hands with certain stack sizes that just need to be pushed all in with. You know?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's probably not driving the Pepsi big rig, looking at a push-fold chart. You know, as he's going, you know. Queen 3 off, that's a no.
And so this is kind of interesting to me. Eric Brockman, as we saw before, raised to 325,000 with Ace King, and now he's downsized it to 215 with King Queen from earlier position. And he's going to get through and take down the blinds and antes with just more than a min raise.
And for the short stacks, the blinds and antes are huge. It's 350,000 or so, maybe a little bit less, 340. So you look at the updated chip count. Still 4 million for our chip leader, Steven.
Wow, 26%.
Second place now. Yeah. And that is prodigious. I mean, to have 26% at a full table.
Oh man, such a perfect position. Got to be feeling good right now to take this down.
And so, he's played with, half of these players in the last hour or so when they were 2 tables. So he has an idea who's willing, who's going to be strong. Obviously, he's probably happy to have Karen all the way across the table from him. They're both probably happy that they're separated, and they can pick on those other stacks and not have them, butting up against each other in their blinds.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big thing.
The chips will probably go that way.
Yeah. And look at this. Steve is saying, I am really going to show you.
Under the gun +2, early position with 9 deuce of clubs. And now he's become the chip leader. He's become the man. And this is what he has to do. Right?
He really wants to flex, and he really wants to see how hard he can push his leverage as chip leader here. And
same amount that he raised before.
And obviously, perception is everything in poker, and his raise looks really strong right here. He's raising from an early position.
Karen got her cards back so we could see them on the reader. That's the only reason, just so you know at home.
And here we go. Tom with a definitely playable ace-10 offsuit. It is an early position raise. There are multiple short stacks shorter than him, so I would definitely think the best play here would be to flat call and go to the flop and assess the situation from there. But he just decides to let the old 9 deuce take it down, and Steve showing the power of aggression as we talked about at its finest right there.
And so that is only going to embolden him mentally and, of course, physically now with 4.2 million chips. And do you know him at all?
I don't.
Okay, yeah. So it's local, as mentioned, from Carmichael, not too far away. Both he and Brockman are from Carmichael, and sitting side by side there. And they talk about how often you have to do that, and be successful to make it profitable. And usually, like 1 in 3 or so to make that move. And once you make that move and make it successful, you're going to see it more and more, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why not run the table over until somebody steps in your way.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of having that stack. So what have you been up to lately? I've been playing it.
I'm pretty much playing almost 100% online right now, actually. That's where I started off playing, and I'm just loving getting back into playing 10, 12 tables at a time. And playing tons of tournaments and sit and goes, and I've actually really been focusing on my coaching. In fact, since we're talking about it, make sure to check out michaelloncar.com. Just launched it this week, and I'm looking to take on a few more students. I've had a lot of fun coaching a number of players on a weekly basis, and it's just been awesome seeing the results in cash games and tournaments just soar up.
Absolutely.
And developing friendships and relationships with them on top of it, obviously.
Good for you.
It's been very rewarding, definitely.
He knows what he's talking about. And if you do mistype his website, you'll go to my website, which shows you all of my cars, lonscars.com. You'll see the F-150 and the C-Max.
That's right.
Love pictures of my car.
That's right. What do you have?
An F-150 and a C-Max.
Oh, that's awesome.
I go heavy use of gas to almost no gas.
That's awesome.
Bought chains for the truck. Got my ski pass. I got my skis. I'm ready. 2 runs open at Heavenly, but I'm not ready for Heavenly with only 2 runs right now. And rain all next week. All right, so
Sean raised it up with ace-10 offsuit from under the gun +2 and takes it down, and there really hasn't been a lot of playable hands here. There's really just been kind of
a lot of flops. No,
there's really been one strong hand pre-flop that's been raising and taking it down, and
so you look at Francisco. Let's just take a point here with Francisco. 8 big blinds, 835,000. He started with $1.2 million.
Yep.
The blinds right now are so steep, and I think he might have played a hand right when we were on the air, so he might have lost some of those chips. But it is so expensive to sit there and do nothing.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
And now, do you find that for young players or players new to this type of situation, that's the hardest thing to do is to up their hand frequency?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just don't understand how wide you have to shove when you get under 10 big blinds in certain positions.
And just remaining above water.
Yeah.
I mean, you have. I mean, where? Yeah, I want to say yes, exactly. Anyway, no. What I was going to say is, what do you tell your students about the range? I mean, how wide? If you're just card dead, what do you tell them? I mean, that's hot, you know.
I mean, sometimes, you know, if you're ultra card dead and there are lots of hands that are shoves, if it's folded to you, you know, if it's folded to you
Right.
on the button with 8 big blinds, you should be shoving any ace. There's a, you know, you should be shoving a very large range of hands, but if there's a raise behind you, you might not be able to make that shove, and a lot of shoves sometimes just get taken away because of a raise behind you and you're short. And you just have to be patient and just wait for that spot.
At that point, a lot of times, your spot, whether it's a good spot or a bad spot, your spot comes with position. And
Exactly.
You have to talk about position a lot. That's
Exactly.
the thing. I mean, that's if you're card dead and it's been folded to you in late position, that would be a moment. And if you get picked off, it's like you did the right thing. You did all you could.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, and I think you'll see that in any of the early books, any book on poker. Poker position is key.
Yep.
And so use it wisely. And also, if you're upside down on your position, it will kill you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do think that a lot of the push fold charts that are out there, I do think that a lot of them are a little too wide in certain spots.
I don't know that they deal with position much, do they?
Yeah, they deal with position.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, they deal with
obviously.
exactly how many blinds you have when it's folded
And
to in
where
certain
you are.
positions.
Okay,
But I
right.
definitely think
It would have to.
that they're a little too wide because those charts were written 6, 7, 8 years ago when the game was a lot tighter. So there was a lot more fold equity when you shoved 6 or 7 or 8 big
Right.
blinds in late position because people didn't understand that you're supposed to call fairly light in certain spots when you have someone covered for a 7 big blind shove, whereas
Okay.
today there's a lot more stickiness, there's a lot more call stations, there's a lot, the game is just a lot looser of a game than it was 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely modifications that need to be made because of that.
Exactly. So Andrew, now
Once again, a very
pocket
interesting
threes.
spot.
Yeah.
Pocket threes, I would really recommend.
Here we go, Texas. Texas Jack's coming,
Texas
right?
Jack.
He's coming.
He's thinking about it. He also doesn't want to go out. He's sitting there on 3 big blinds. And I mean, this is your round. You have to get it in this round. You really have to get this. You have to get your stack in here all in before the big blind hits
I'm going to
you.
go to his default thinking. I'm glad he's doing this.
There you go.
Because my default thinking in this situation was always the guy must have an ace he raised. You know, and obviously, you know, if you watch streams, you learn that
And
nobody has an ace.
that's right. And we're gonna have a big coin flip here, or should I say, a big coin flip for Texas Jack
Right.
and Andrew.
All in.
It's a short stacks. It's a two short stacks going at it. Texas Jack needs a king or a queen to stay alive. A virtual coin flip, 820,000 in the middle.
What do you think? Would you prefer Andrew shoving with the threes there?
I would have preferred a shove. I really
Yeah.
think you should fold or shove there. I mean, what are you gonna do if the big blind calls? You're gonna have 3 overcards almost every single time. You're not gonna know what to do. Really, he had about 9 or 10 big blinds to start the hand. I think 9 big blinds. I think you got to make that shove.
All right, so the king queen will be at risk. I hope they put the all-in button next to the king queen. We requested that last time. We'll see if it doesn't there.
And
no.
queen in the window. King.
Oh! What a
Just
flop.
put the nail in the coffin right now.
Well, only running threes.
Only running threes, which is going to happen once of every 400 times.
That'll do it. Texas
tonight.
Jack. He almost had to talk himself into putting his chips in. And look at the flop he comes.
Wow.
And a double through one of the other shorter stacks. I'm happy for you, Texas Jack. I'm
Very
ready
happy
for you. So a big hit to Andrew, and look at the smile on Texas
beaming.
Jack's face. He's
That's awesome.
loving it. And now Andrew, the short stack with just 5 bigs. And you look at, you know, of course, the old adage, you know, you're under 20 big blinds, you're in the red zone. Most, 3/4 of this table
Oh, yeah.
is in the red zone.
Yeah, and especially here in 3 minutes, these blinds are going to go up, and this is going to have a big impact on the game. There's going to be a lot of real short stacks here.
And so, upcoming, kind of a quiet season at Stones, but because of the holiday season, there is a Chip In for Charity event, which we'll be showing you a little bit, and a couple of different days. And they do some nice charity work here. There's some nice organizations, very worthy. $100 buy-in, $10,000 starting stack. December 5th, December 7th, Tuesday and Thursday evenings at 6:30, and 100% of all donations benefit the Littlefoot Families Foundation. And it's been a constant charity that Stone supports. Very worthwhile. So, charity event, the 5th and the 7th of December. Come on out. Other than that, remember the last Sunday event coming up next Sunday. So, a lot going on at Stone. They had I played in one of the starting days. I think it was Thursday night, the last one, and every table in here was filled, but not. And they had cash games going. And it was amazing. I mean, for a Thursday night, there was not a seat to be had in this place.
Yeah, they really fill out here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for that tournament.
Let me ask Justin something. Justin, excuse me a second. Justin.
And yeah, I'm just now reading the chat, guys.
Yeah, we're behind. We're behind.
We definitely appreciate all of you in the chat.
Let me look here. Oh, Poker Pro Eric's here. We don't really always appreciate Poker Pro Eric, but we're glad you're there. Yeah, so we're not quite up on it, I mean, we're here to watch.
All right, we're with you guys now.
We're here to work.
The yellow chips are 10,000, I believe.
The bananas, yes.
The bananas are 10,000. The lavender, pinkish, whatever color you want to call them, those are 5,000. The plaques are 25,000. If you guys see the kind of blue-gray chips right there,
right next to the, right in front of.
Those are 100,000 chips.
And there are 3 of them go in right now from Sean. Chop Pot says, I like your dog, Lon. It was too late to bring Chachi. He had to get his rest, I was thinking about that earlier on. They say dog years, or there's more dog years than a human, There's 6 dog years per 1 year. So I was thinking of that. When I got my dog, I was older than my dog. And I've had my dog now for like 9 years. And now my dog is older than me. It's kind of weird.
That's weird.
Think about that. Or I'm sorry I brought it up. Either way, you can think of it that way. Gray is hard to see. Well, the chips are hard to see because they're not supposed to be on TV, Eric. It says the gray chips are hard to see on the screen. We're making do here, They almost pulled out the little Wagyu burgers to make them the 100,000 Ks, but they thought it probably would work. So we went with the chips.
Here we go. Someone in the chat saying, Lon, I saw you at Stones a few weeks ago and didn't know if you were open to taking pictures with fans, but just wanted to say 04 main event was the first poker I ever watched, so thank you for introducing me to the game.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We get that a lot. A lot of people, who are now good players, started watching those moneymaker years, the whole poker boom years.
And this is interesting. Karen limping in under the gun +1 with a mystery hand. We can't see what she has just yet.
She's got her cards there. I think there might be a reader issue. There we go. Okay. Well,
and this is
she's upgraded from 8-5.
This is interesting. She's getting maybe a little bit of an itch to play a hand here, and
she has a big stack. She doesn't have to bump heads with Steve.
I think this is a great spot for Steve to limp in, especially if you suspect that Karen might be limping really strong here. Limping on the button for 100K, and looks like he's.
That's his call.
He's gonna make the call.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. More times than not, the blinds are gonna limp in and check, and you're gonna have position with a very nice playable suited 10-8 suited.
Uh-oh.
So here we go, Steven. Interesting spot for Steven now with Ace Jack of Diamonds. You have to be very suspicious of Karen's limp from early position, and playing it safe and checking here against the other 2 big stacks might be the best play, but he decides to take the aggressive route.
The 4 bounty chips we were just talking about. Karen undeterred.
Wow. Limp calling with 9-7 of diamonds.
No hesitation either. She's
now,
looking to hit something on the flop. Unfortunately, what she's looking for is probably what Steven has.
And if you're Steve, this is looking like a great spot to call. I can definitely see making a fold here because of the strength of these 2 hands, what it seems. But I think you can go either way right there with that hand in this spot.
All right, Ace-Jack suited against 9-7. So, what a flop for Karen as she flops top 2, but all hearts out there, neither with a heart.
And more than likely, we're going to see a continuation bet here from Steven, and I'm imagining a shove from Karen with 3 hearts on the board with her hand strength. Can't really imagine making any other play when facing a big bet with this hand, with this flop.
Steven started the tournament with 2 million chips. Karen with 2.8 million. And you see they're pretty even right now. Steven with the advantage at the moment.
And he bets 450, and if you're Karen, you got to be looking at this. There's 1.5 million in the middle. I think your only play is to move all in. I think she just
shoved. Yeah, yep. She shoved on it.
And Steven's not going to waste her time. He's going to snap fold. And
wow, what? How do people do that? I mean, she called the 3-bet, right?
Maybe she had a gut feeling.
Oh, and what a pot for Karen. And that puts her into second place as Lon McEachern and Michael Loncar.
Yes.
Lon and Loncar show. Finally, at last. A lot of people were... Actually, nobody clamored for this except you, right?
that's about right. But yeah, it's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here in the booth.
Oh, yeah.
And,
well, I've watched you play for a long time. I mean, you were one of the... When I was moving into the area and playing, I saw you at a lot of places. I knew that you were a player. I admired you, and it is nice to be here picking your brain.
That's awesome to hear.
I feel like I'm getting a free lesson here. Maybe not free. Who knows? Okay, so when I had the straight flush against your queen, could I have gotten your whole stack?
No.
Okay, you saw the straight. You could have put me on a straight flush.
I actually almost folded.
I rivered the straight flush. He rivered queens full.
So the hand was a few weeks ago. Me and Lon were at the same table in a
How does that happen?
We were at the same table in a $365 World Series of Poker monster stack event. It's a 20,000 starting stack, 30-minute levels in South Lake Tahoe, and the blinds were 5,100.
Oh wow, you remember all this?
I opened.
And you took notes.
I opened to 250 from early position with Queen 10 of clubs. There was a caller in between us. Lon was on the button and called. The big blind called. There was about.
That's what you were doing with your phone the whole time afterward? Okay, go ahead.
And the flop came Jack 10-9 rainbow with 1 diamond. So I flopped middle pair with the open-ended straight draw. It was a rainbow flop. I continuation bet 450 after the big blind checked. The player in between us called. You called. And we went 3 ways to the turn. The turn card came the 10 of diamonds. So now the board is Jack 10, 9, 10 with 2 diamonds. With the 10, 9 of diamonds, I had turned trips, which I loved.
Yeah.
And I bet, in fact, I bet 1,300 on the turn. The player in between us folded and you called.
Because I had a straight flush draw.
That's right. And the river came
Queen of Diamonds.
The Queen of Diamonds, filling me up for a full house, giving Lon the straight flush. I bet 2,900 and Lon made it 7,000. And
how's my bet sizing?
Perfect. I mean, really. I mean,
I got a call.
I had to call. I mean, I sat there and I'm like, okay. I mean, I did consider making a massive fold just because.
I thought that was going through your head. I thought, I bet too much.
I was questioning maybe he has the nut flush.
You beat any other flush?
I beat any flush. I thought maybe I figured it probably had to be the nut flush to raise me. I thought there was a possibility you might have Jack 10 for a weaker full house, 10-9 for a weaker full house, and then obviously I saw the straight flush possibility. I thought pocket jacks was pretty unlikely. I figured there were really about 2 or 3 hands that I'm beating and 2 or 3 hands that I'm beat by, and it's almost impossible to make that fold just because I'm so strong.
Card, right?
Oh, you had the straight flush, and That was a crazy hand.
That was fun.
Crazy hand.
I felt very bad, for a moment.
Until I started stacking the chips up, and then I didn't feel bad.
Yeah.
Of course not.
But those events are fun up there.
Yeah,
So the
definitely.
players on a break, by the way.
Yes, yeah, we're on break, everyone. So
For a few minutes.
story time is on.
So as you look forward for a player like yourself, how do you improve? Do you have mentors that you go to? Do you have players you talk to? How does your knowledge base build up from this point?
Definitely talking strategy with other pros is definitely a big thing for me. Definitely looking back, I think it's very important to be overly critical of your game, analyze hands you've played, whether it be online or live, and just really always be honest, brutally honest with yourself. And I think it's important to always, I think especially with how many different cash games, tournaments, online, live, this casino, that casino, I think that the number one most important thing with poker is adapting to your game. But as far as getting better and increasing your knowledge of the game, I think it's also important to spend some time and see, coaching videos, things that people are looking at online and talking about online. I think it's important to see what other people are studying, and there's so much new strategy being put out there all the time as far as theories and what is standard and what is not, as far as what other people are doing. And
is it worth it for the folks out there in my category, in the category of player we're seeing here, to how much should they be paying monthly if they're on signing up for somebody's online, Doug Polk or Negrano or somebody like that? I mean,
however much you can afford, really. I mean, there's so much out there. There's so much good content out there as far as getting better and increasing
should you
your
look
game.
for successful players? Should you
Of course.
look for somebody whose style mimics your own? Or, winning money is not everything. I mean, about to tell somebody about how somebody plays.
Yeah.
Should they find us somebody that they like, that somebody they can listen to? I guess all of that has to come into play.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of ways you can go about it. There are lots of good sites out there that have, the subscribing videos every month. If you just want to pay $30 a month and
use the streams,
use the streams, and
that's like a free lesson if you're looking at the live streams from the European events. WPT or EPT or World Series of Poker. Watch how they play, and you can take notes. I mean, if you key on a player, maybe somebody you like, and see how they play around it.
I think that's something that's very important, is with experience and observing other people. Obviously, I think most people can tell who the better players are at the table, and I think it's really important to always take little things that you see other players do in a hand. When you get to see the hand show down and say, oh, this is how he played his aces, this is how he played that. Take things that you see other good players do and implement them into your game. It's very important.
And it helps to also, I've found, to find yourself familiar with the nomenclature, with the feel of the table. Pretend, like I said, pretend you've been there before. Make it, it's like it's not your first time, and it's going to happen. I mean, I tell people this all the time, that how do the pros figure out who's who? And the pros are doing this every day, most of the hours of the day. And so I turn around on people and I say, imagine your job. Say you're a clerk at the county office, and somebody walks in and they say, I'm a county clerk also, and they start doing your job when they're actually a gardener. You know right away that they're doing something wrong at your job. And so that's what the pro, you sit down at a poker table and you don't know what you're doing. It takes one or two things and the pros say,
Exactly.
So just get yourself comfortable, be yourself, do what you have to do, take your time, you're in no rush.
Yeah, I really think it's just, obviously thinking more about your question, I think it's very, very important, no matter what your skill level is, whether you're paying someone for coaching, which is obviously an option, or a friend that you know that has a decent amount of success, that someone that you can talk strategy with, someone that you can talk that will elevate your game. Just it doesn't have to be coaching. Just if you have a friend that's a good player, being able to bounce stuff off with them and ask their opinion on hands, and it's just so important to have someone to talk strategy with that understands certain things.
Exactly. And I find myself that I'm so clouded in my decision, as Sean with the King Queen of Hearts, clouded in my thinking. If I take a bad beat or something happens in the tournament, my 40-minute drive home is so valuable to me, because the time I get home, I've come off that they shouldn't have done that and come around to like, oh, maybe I should have done this differently. I mean, there's so many ways to think about it.
And look at this. It folds to Sean on the button, who raises to 350,000. The blinds are now 60,000, 120,000 with King Queen of Hearts. Steven in the small blind also has King Queen. And I think this hand is going to be a perfect example, most likely, of the power of position, the power of aggression. Expect to see Sean continuation bet here. But no, he checks back. And this is going to be one of those first bets.
The paired board.
The first person that bets is probably going to win this hand. If Steven comes out firing here, this is going to be a very difficult spot for Sean to continue.
These are some of the more fascinating hands I've watched through the years, when you have the same hand going against each other.
It is.
Basically.
It really is.
And it tells you so much about the player.
And I really think if you're Sean there, you have to take a poke at this. Obviously, it's gonna hurt you if you have to bet fold here. And
oh, wow.
But wow, what is this? Steven bets
that.
200K and Sean floats.
Now. Two pair on board, and ace will take it.
And this is a very difficult spot for Steven. Sean is repping a very strong hand.
They both check.
They both check, and they're both going to feel pretty great to chop this up with King High.
Wow, so very interesting call by Sean there. I mean, he figured he had the best hand and figured nobody had the 7. And no pair will take it for both. You see the payouts as you scroll down at the bottom. This has been quite an amazing event. And the prize pool ended up being this was
yeah. So
okay, it was 100,000
the total prize pool is 115,000, and it might be scrolling here on the bottom, but there it is. The actual total prize pool of this tournament was 153,000. $38,000 got paid out to people that made it to day 2 more than once, which is amazing.
Is this what's remaining?
115,000 is remaining.
Okay, that's okay. That's not the total yet. So I knew they crushed the guarantee of 100K, made it almost 154. So Andrew, 3 bigs to the short stack and seat 1 after doubling up Texas Jack before we went to break. And I think it'll be a while before we see Texas Jack dip his toe
he's
in the
probably
pool
gonna wait it out here for a.
I think King Queen of Hearts might have been at the bottom of his range at that point. Even though we know he shouldn't have, he could have gotten it in before. But he doubled up, so he's right. We'll get him, Texas Jack. No knockouts yet from our final table. They started play at 11 o'clock local time. We're on the West Coast in California, just outside the nation's capital. The state capital, I should say. We're talking about bringing the nation's capital West Coast. There's some that'll never happen.
Probably not.
So Texas Jack under the gun. I think they're working on making sure all the money's right. Everybody's got their right. There we go. Okay. So if you're new to the stream, again, a lot of streams at Stones throughout the week. Cash games, tournaments, special tournaments as this one. The last Sunday event is their regular biggest event. $300 buy-in the last Sunday of each month, and we stream that. Final Table Live, and there's cash games that go Monday and Wednesdays as well. I got involved in that Veronica and Friends Omaha 8 game the other night. Sean wakes up with aces. That was quite a game.
Oh my gosh, that was a fun game to commentate on. It was a difficult game to commentate on.
Oh yeah, I don't know how you kept track.
Oh my gosh, it's very difficult. And this is such a perfect spot for Sean. Folds to your cutoff with aces. And I was just going to say, I'd really like to see a really small sizing here. I mean, I think really with the 13, less than 13, wow, yeah, he's got about, I think about 12 big blinds to start this hand. I'd really like to see a min raise. Min raise this to 240,000. I think you're going to get action there on the button with the king jack if you min raise. You want to hook the big blind into calling here and flop a top pair, which is going to be almost impossible to get away from in this scenario. And I think his sizing really possible on that one there. I think he really should have gone 240, 250.
A little too big.
A little too big.
At that late position,
Yeah, you're short stack, you want value, you got to minimize that. But hey, he wins the pot. He avoids the potential disaster situation that could possibly happen. He takes it down.
So you see the blind, 60 and 120,000, and the ante has doubled to 20K now. So very expensive to sit and watch your fellow competitors play poker.
That's right.
I don't know. We've seen. Has Tom played a hand?
He did shove those jacks against his parents' button raise, but other than that, I think that's the only hand he's played.
You see Tom in the lower right. Started as short stack 2. He and Pete were just 20,000 chips apart. That's the 2 short stacks.
Yeah, I think that's just looking at what everyone's typing here in the chat, talking about this tournament specifically. I definitely would say that my observation of these tournaments, commentating on them, compared to bigger events with maybe more advanced players, is that these tournaments are going to be a lot tighter at the final table.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're definitely going to be tighter. Everyone.
And you've got people who haven't been here before.
People haven't been here before. They want to ladder up. They're really only trying to play real premium hands for the most part.
And I think we go back to learning as we watch Steve here and what he does with pocket eights as the big stack. But there is, if you are new to a final table, and as we mentioned, a couple of guys are, just being here and taking in everything is so valuable. And again, you're watching from a front row seat with some skin in the game, and that's the best way. And so I look at Texas Jack, and he could have shoved earlier, but it's so productive to be there and watch how other people play, and the next time you get there, you're going to be that much more successful. We have a very interesting situation here with Steven with the eights. Finally, somebody with something to play back to Steve with. And that's exactly what happens.
And Steven 3-bets 750K, leaving $1 million behind.
Steven's one from Reno, originally from Washington, D.C., speaking of the nation's capital, who was visiting friends in the Bay Area today and driving back to Reno. And he knew of Stones. People had told him what a nice room it is, and he had seen it before and heard about the tournament. So he plopped down 900 today on his drive back home, not even planning on it.
And I think this should be a pretty easy fold from Steve here. Obviously, in lots of situations like this, you never know exactly what your opponent has, but you can definitely put them on a range of hands. And this just screams strength when someone makes it 750 here.
Oh, there's the call.
And he moved all in.
Yeah, he did. Those
and
are a whole
you're going to get a snap call from Steven, and
so
here we go.
Steven with the queens will be at risk, but way ahead in a double-up attempt. And I guess Steve was thinking that Steven might have been just looking at a big ace there or something.
And I think you got to look at Steven's range there as really, it really looks like Jacks plus. I mean, I don't even think Ace King too often is going to make that kind of raise with that stack size, leaving only a little bit behind. Yeah, I think Steven's range there in that spot is probably going to be Jacks plus or Ace King. Maybe 10s plus an Ace King. With that range, I think you got to take the safe route here. You haven't had any resistance yet.
Right.
Preserve your stack, but hey, I understand Steve's thinking he's obviously a very good player, and see if he can get lucky here and spike an 8 and win this 3.9 million pot. This pot is worth chip lead, by the way.
2 aces out there on the flop.
And Steve's looking for one of the 2 remaining 8s left in the deck. that will not do it. Steven now is our new chip leader with 3.9 million. And I totally understand Steve's thinking. You know, he's looking at Steven's starting stack as around 16 or 17 big blinds. And from what I've seen, Steve is a very good player, but unfortunately just kind of ran into it there.
I mean, you have to look at the end result. I mean, do you have to look at the end result if your eights don't hold up? I mean, is that part of your thinking, depending on where your chips are going, where you'll end up? You're now in the middle of the pack. Steve, is that part of the calculation, or do you not worry about that at all? You're just trying to match your hand against the range and the player.
I obviously, you know, you got to reassess the spot, and that's the hardest part about poker is, as you said, when you make the right play and you lose, it's hard sometimes to feel good about it, but you should feel good about it. It's a certain mentality that you have to have as a successful poker player. Just to, and obviously, Steven will look back at this and say, "I didn't make the right play, and what should I do next time?" And so I think with his skill set, he'll be just fine here recovering from this.
So one bullet for Steven in seat 9, $900 today, as mentioned. Talking about the deep stacks, he finished second in the WBT deep stacks event August of last year, won $39K.
Who's that, Steve?
Main event. Steven.
Oh, Steven.
Yeah. Plays 5-10 at Peppermill a lot with a buddy of ours from here, Sean Daniels. And Sean living back on the East Coast now, and actually he knows Sean from the East Coast. Where he used to live in the DC area.
That's awesome.
Where Sean is now.
I got to spend 3 or 4 months there last summer in DC.
Is that right?
Never been there before, and it was just awesome.
Amazing place. We're in summertime?
Yes.
Woo, hot, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Sweaty?
It's so hot.
Humidity, huh?
So humid. The house I was living in didn't have air conditioning, so it had fans blasting. I know, it was rough. It was rough.
How do you not have air conditioning in DC?
They didn't have air conditioning. We relied on fans.
Was it a poker house? Was it a?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Were you playing at the harbor and National Harbor? Or?
It actually hadn't opened yet. It opened up this past December.
Okay.
But I was playing at Maryland Live, and it was fun.
Do you know Sean Daniels?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, because he was playing a lot of those areas. Now he's kind of ensconced in
really good
Harbor
player.
now.
Really good player and really nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
East Coast humidity, man. It's a whole other thing. We don't know about out here.
That is true. That is true. We're happy about that.
Yeah, definitely.
So the levels are 40 minutes. Like our last Sunday event here, there was some talk last month. There was some polling going around whether or not they wanted to shorten the last Sunday event to 30-minute levels. And it could have to do just with the length of day. And you see, when you get 40-minute levels, I don't know exactly what time it is, but these guys started at 11 o'clock local. And so we're probably, what time we got now, working on?
12:40 a.m.
Okay, so yeah, a long day for these players. These players who are left, obviously energized just to be at this final table. And for a lot of them, a decent payday. Andrew, Ace King.
Andrew looking down at 2.5 big blinds.
All of it going in.
Ace King feels like aces right here. And Tom is going to have to call for another 180,000 with Ace 7 offsuit. Price is right, hand strength is right. And he makes the correct call, and unfortunately for him, is going to run into a dominated spot.
So Andrew looking to stay in the game with his Ace King. So a 7 is what Tom's looking for, and what an unfortunate spot for Tom, who can't afford to give the chips away.
5, 6 deuce, and Andrew now with a stranglehold on his hand with a nut flush draw. Tom's looking for a non-spade 7. Queen of diamonds on the turn.
Tom already paying him off.
And I believe the other folded cards have shown, so Tom I think is drawing to a 1 outer here. And there it is.
Spade nut flush for Andrew to double up. And normally it wouldn't be a big hit to anybody at this table, but for Tom, that's a big hit.
That is a big hit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have a little less than 6 big blinds left.
And you figure, I mean, it's amazing. Nobody wants to get knocked off. You don't want to be the first one knocked off.
Of course.
You want to extend your time at a table like this, but you look at players
this. Wow.
under 10
Three
big blinds.
players with 5 big blinds, 1 player with 7 big blinds. Every one of those players is thinking the same thing. I hope that 1 or 2 of the other short stacks gets knocked out here so I can ladder up an extra couple $1,000 at least before I...
Just that tension building out
man.
there, waiting for the ice to break and the thaw season up in Alaska. It just everyone feeling it.
And how many? The question here in the chat is how many poker tables does the Stones have? I believe
17.
yeah, 17 tables.
Poker tables. We got 2 sides.
Yep,
Glass
there's-
wall in the middle.
There's a glass wall in the middle here separating the poker side from what the poker players here call the dark side.
Yeah.
On the other side over there with the table games, lots of table games, blackjack.
And the one smart thing is you don't have to walk through that room with your winnings to get to your car. There's a back door.
They put an entrance.
Unlike
into
in
and
Las
out.
Vegas,
Yeah, exactly.
when you win money, you have to go through the pit to get to your car or valet. All right, so 60, 120 with a 20K ante. Eric Brockman with ace, queen off under the gun.
Definitely going to see a raise here, and this will be interesting to see what his sizing is. We saw him raise to 3.25 earlier with ace king, 2.2 with king queen, and
You make it 310?
so he makes it 320K, just less than
Okay.
3 times the big blind.
Francisco. Haven't seen him play. Stack is dwindling, but he's on a super free roll. He was down to 10,000 chips several hours ago. 10,000 chips.
That's so amazing. That's so awesome.
10,000. He threw his last chip in and had pocket kings, and he rolled it from there. And so now Francisco is the short stack. And you see, you become a victim of attrition. But, to have those short stacks there, it creates a different dynamic for the bigger stack. The bigger stacks want those short stacks
Yeah.
hang around. And now you can put pressure on some of the middle stacks at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the middle stacks obviously feel that they can outlast the short stacks. But if the big stack is putting pressure on the middle stacks, it is a huge bubble for those middle stacks to make a decision there. So
Exactly.
it's an interesting dynamic. I'm just curious if the big stacks realize that dynamic. But that's the kind of game you have to play when you're at a final table. And if you realize those dynamics, if you are alert to them, then you can really exude a lot of pressure on the right people.
You're going to laugh at this. I don't know how I didn't realize it until just now. That hand where Steven raised out of the big blind with ace jack of diamonds, Karen called with the 9-7 diamonds, and the flop came 9-7-2. I don't know how I didn't realize it just now that Steve, who's contemplating that 10-8 of hearts call on the button that we were talking about, he would have flopped a flush and gotten a massive favorite there. We're talking about going up against other big stacks.
That's right.
Yeah, you definitely got to be really careful here when you're going against other big stacks. There's lots, as you said, there's lots of short stacks.
The
You wanna
short
be-
stacks
you wanna
don't
be really
matter. The short
careful.
stacks are like, whatever, I'd like to hang on, but I'm going to make the most of it. And to have those short stacks in there really helps the bigger stacks. So Andrew again wakes up with...
And this is just 100% shove. You got to shove here.
Yeah, Karen already folded once Andrew said all in.
You're sitting on less than 8 big blinds with king queen offsuit, middle position. Great shove spot. A lot of fold equity, and he's going to take this down, and
He is indeed.
definitely love to see the no contest takedown there.
That will be fine with him. So Andrew now with $1,200,000, just 9 big blinds. So it tells you how shallow all the stacks are, even though with $1 million too. I was thrilled the first time I ever got 1 million chips in my stack.
Yeah.
It was at a circuit event a few years ago. And I finished 4th, and I'd never had 1 million chips. When I made him stop, said, guys, I've never had 1 million chips. I was like, talking about acting like you've been there before.
Yeah.
Like, I've never had 1 million chips before. And I had them for one hand. And then it was gone.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, and then when you get up in the bigger level, I mean, when you can bet $1 million, say 1 million.
1 million.
It's nice. Yeah. Which I believe our World Series final table was on tonight. So we had a lot of guys saying 1 million tonight on ESPN. So you get the national version of me, and you get the local version tonight. For the same price point.
That's right.
So, when you're looking at this, what is the overall dynamic? People are waiting.
Yeah.
Nobody is. We saw Steve try to take control, with nothing and raising from early position, but he didn't carry through on that. And now he took a big hit, so he's not that big dog.
Yep.
It really does seem like everyone's kind of jostling, looking at everyone else. Is that an opportunity?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely would, like to see any of the medium stocks to be opening fairly wide in late position when it's folded them, but this is
gotta
such
happen. It's gotta happen for those bottom three.
This is such an interesting dynamic with these real extreme short stacks. Even.
How do you say this? Scrimmage-u? Hi.
Scrimmage-u.
Scrimmage-u. Sorry, I apologize. But hello, how are you? Glad you're watching. Where are you watching? I mean, I gotta think people are. It's so late. They're either overseas.
Yeah, how many of you that are in the chat are
in our time zone, or how many are in like a normal, I should be awake time zone somewhere?
Yeah, how many of you are over in Europe or Australia and actually daytime right now?
Eastern Europe, Romania, very nice.
Nice, thanks for joining us.
Daniel Negreanu territory.
Wow, New Zealand, 10 p.m. Awesome.
Getting late for that. Start my stream. We got New Zealand. We got Oregon, San Jose. Checking in. Very nice.
And here we go, Texas Jack.
You saw an ace.
Making a correct shove here. You've only got 4.5 big blinds with ace. Any ace should be a shove here from this position.
Has Sean dominated?
And has Sean dominated?
But this is a third of his stack, of Sean's stack, and that's. I mean, he's watched Texas Jack.
Yeah, this is not.
Don't you get a feeling that Texas Jack is going to wait?
Yeah. Yeah, and because of Sean's stack, this is definitely not a snap call. I think if Sean had another 500,000, you would have to call on the spot.
Right, but it's a third instead of a quarter.
Yeah, I think this is one of those.
He's folding.
You can really go either way.
He's folding, yes.
Yeah, he's folding.
Wow. And Texas Jack will take it.
In a normal tournament, in a normal situation, I think that you have to make that call because Texas Jack has proven he's very tight.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem making that fold in this scenario with the fact that it's really gonna hurt his stack here.
On one hand, I want to see Texas Jack get heads up, but on the other hand, I don't, because I think he would be annihilated. And I like Texas Jack too much to let him go into the pit with the Lions. But no, he said it was a day of poker that he dreams about. Just things went right. He got the cards at the right time, and sometimes that happens. It's just smooth sailing.
Yep.
For Andrew, he said he was up and down all day. He almost got knocked out by Karen at one point. But so it was a struggle for him all day. He's probably feeling exhausted. He's probably wondering, why doesn't Texas Jack think it? that was so nice. How did I get here? You ask them how they got here. It's like, I don't know. It just kind of happened, you know? And that you love those days, and they happen, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's nothing better than that.
I mean, some days you got to fight, you know?
Oh, man.
Which I enjoy, too. I feel better about those days. You go away thinking, I should not be where I am. I fought, and I did all I could.
And look at this. Sean limping in out of the small blind with aces. Steven
More
checks.
in line with what you thought should have happened earlier.
Yep. Yeah, I would have really liked to see a limp or a min raise here, so it's totally fine to limp. And look at this. Ace,
nice.
7, 8. Sean does not want to see a 9 ball on the turn. And this will be interesting. And look at this. Sean checks. Steven bets.
Steven bets the draw.
Hoping to obviously just take it down right here. And this will be interesting.
No hearts in the hole cards.
I have to imagine Sean's probably going to raise here with the amount of draws out there. There's a lot of bad turn cards here for aces. But he's just going to slow play it and flat call. And
Don't get
this would
greedy.
be absolute disaster if a non-heart 9 comes on the turn.
With the trip.
If this turn card comes a non-heart 9, there will be fireworks. 3 of hearts on the turn. Sean checks. Steven, no, I do not have a heart. And he decides to check back. 6 of diamonds on the river.
So Sean is safe. If he doesn't.
And looks like he's going to go for light value here.
Yeah.
Looks like he's probably going to, if I had to guess, he's going to bet small.
And yeah.
Snap fold from Steven.
Aces hold. For Sean, he'll take that pot, 740,000. So he did not call when maybe he should have with the ace-5. He wakes up with aces, and now
He's got a nice stack.
yeah.
And I'm not saying this. Obviously, I don't know Sean. I don't know Steven. I'm not rooting for either one of them over the other. But just as a poker spectator and fan, I would have loved to see what would happen there if the turn card did come to 9. I think we all did, right?
Exactly, yeah. So Sean started with a 1,220,000. He's got 2 million now. Single qualifier. Just he tried twice at the $120 level and got through, of course, on one. Got a 9-to-5 job. Plays here. He lives in Lincoln, so he's going to play at Thunder a little bit.
Yep.
In 2009, he won a circuit ring, and so he's been there before.
Yep.
But still, though, it's a great accomplishment to get through this field. I mean, it's a monster field, and a lot of players from not just Stones came here to play this event.
Yeah.
So there's
a
some
lot of
fine
people all over
players.
Northern California.
Texas Jack, you got the pocket pair.
And you've got pocket 5s. You have to make the shove here. It's either full or shove. There's no raise, there's no limp.
He's under
But here we go.
Early position
I think he's putting a small raise in,
and hoping.
and I think this is a real big mistake, honestly. You know,
Oh,
I'm rooting for Texas Jack.
Look
He
at
seems
this.
like a really nice guy. Oh,
short
wow.
stack Francisco with kings. Eric now with an ace.
And Steve looking
With
down
a
that pocket
pair.
4s.
Oh my goodness. So
And he does have something to think about here because of the short stack dynamics. But he does have hands behind him. You have to imagine Texas Jack has a pretty big hand here, and he's going to call.
at least a pocket pair.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I think it's just one of those spots you just got to fold and
But
get away from.
yeah, I don't know. Is he worried about Francisco more? Francisco has been null and void at this table, and finally, Francisco's range got to be so wide, so I don't think it worries Steve as much. Am I right about that?
Yeah,
man?
yeah, absolutely. And what a golden spot this is for Francisco. He's going to get a more than triple up opportunity with the blinds and antes. Against 5s
Will
and
Texas
4s.
Jack will he call?
Oh, I didn't realize Steve.
Yeah, Steve
Put a
4-bet.
small 4-bet up.
420.
420.
So, and look at the fold.
Texas Jack folds.
Yeah, And so Francisco all in and ahead with his kings against Steve's pocket fours. And so not quite as big a hit to Steve in the offing here. The kings are at risk. And we're still looking for our first knockout of this Quantum final table. Began last Tuesday, the tournament. So here we go.
Oh, look at that.
5, Texas Jacks. He's a 5.
And you know, like I said, that obviously, if you had X-ray vision and could see the pocket kings, obviously you'd make the fold. But with your stack and your with your situation, you have to shove the 5s. And look at this. Steve picks up a straight draw now. He can now win this pot with a 7 or a 4 on the river.
That's an 8. Another 8. Yeah. So the kings hold up. And again, Texas Jack.
Texas Jack would have shoved. He would be scooping this.
Francisco would have called. Steve might have stuck around for that amount. He probably would have, right?
Maybe.
For that amount?
Maybe.
Yeah. But as it stands, Texas Jack sees his set of 5s. Play without it. Another lesson learned. He's going to be my go-to guy. This is how you learn to play a final table, through Texas Jack. I don't know that he said anything either. He obviously saw it, but I don't think he said anything about. I sold the 5s because he probably knows that he probably should have been all in with the 5s anyway, and he doesn't want everybody to think that I know I got So that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and for those of you just joining us, we are at the final table here, the final 9 players of this Quantum 100K. And look at this, Texas Jack, Queen Jack offsuit under the gun. Just under 5 big blinds. Definitely have to shove this. A definite shove spot.
Does Steve fold? No, Steve still got it.
And
Steve fold, you got 10? Okay. Karen might come along.
And I would expect Karen to call this right here. In fact, with her, obviously, as we talked about, her stack size has a big part to do with this. You're getting exactly 2-1 on your money. 10-9 of diamonds is going to match up really well against Texas Jack shoving range, as tight as he is.
And she's better than 2-1.
And yeah, I mean, really, this is a great spot to call. Not knowing what Texas Jack has, but the fact is, you'll still have over 2 million left if you call and lose. You expect to have somewhere between 35 and 43% equity, and she makes the
gave
fold.
it up. Interesting. But she's taking into consideration who's shoving on her too. Texas Jack, 7 bigs. You check your newspapers tomorrow. If you have to go to bed, check the headlines tomorrow. You see Texas Jack might take the Quantum down.
Yeah, for those of you just joining us, players have the option to buy into this tournament for $120. Start with 10,000 chips. $240 started you with 20,000 chips on different days. And some players, I believe you said 3 here at this final table, chose the option 3 to buy in straight into day 2 today. The blinds started at 1,000, 2,000, $900 entry today. Gave those players 100,000 starting chips to start day 2, and
I think we got 4 actually.
4 players out of 9.
Let's check. So here's 240. Karen was 900 today. Texas Jack was 900 today. Brockman 900 today, and Steven was 900 today.
Interesting.
So 4 that
4 out of 9.
That's pretty strong.
I've only bought into a day 2 one time, and it was definitely fun.
Scream It True from Romania wants a cool WSOP story. We used to have a very sick production crew that would play poker at any moment, drop of the hat, and dinner time. We had tables, and we had cards, but no chips. And we were on dinner break, and we cut up licorice red vines for our chips. The different lengths were different sized chips. And played for an hour while we were on break.
And look at this. Sean opens to 300,000 with ace-9 from the hijack. Steven calls, and Karen waking up with the jacks and the small blind. Really the only place you can make here. There's so much money to take down. Your hand strength is so strong. And she scoops him. Look at that. Increases her stack by 880,000.
Wow.
That's a big takedown.
Pocket jacks aren't supposed to do that, but if you don't see it, if you don't see a flop, jacks are okay.
That's right.
So Karen getting busy. Karen now the chip leader. Steven with 3.1 million in second, as you see. And still waiting for our first knockout. It's amazing that there has not been a knockout yet. I mean, I think if once one goes, I think it's going to go.
Yeah.
You know.
And especially here in 4 minutes, the blinds are going to go up again. That should definitely have a massive impact here on the play. And we have a question here from in the chat. It says, Michael, with everyone being in immediate danger of busting due to super shallow stack sizes, is ICM a thing, or is it not as necessary? And for those of you that don't know what ICM is, it stands for Independent Chip Module. And there are a lot of studies out there that determine how you should play hands in accordance to other short stacks at the table. With obviously there are a lot of extreme short stacks here. Just by sitting back and waiting, you can ladder up a few payout spots. And ICM calculations here is definitely a big thing. You know, if you're on the fence on a hand, you know, this is definitely the time where maybe a fold is more correct because of the fact that you can kind of sit this out and wait it out a little bit with the medium stack. And
yeah, I mean, you have to look at the payouts, right? You have to see what's ahead. I mean, if you're working on that format,
yeah, definitely.
See where the payouts are.
And look at this, Tom sitting with 2 big blinds. Texas Jack and Andrew both under 10 big blinds. Tom is.
I mean, if you're looking at.
And Tom's in the big blind here, so he basically has to get it all in with any 2 cards here.
And which is fine. And so these guys are like. When younger players think of tight players, you look at seats 3 and 4. You look at Texas Jack and Tom, and this is what you run into. It's and that's the fun of it. You have, I mean, to be a well-rounded player, you have to be successful and know how to handle so many different types of people, so many personalities, playing styles, and just fit yours in between all of that and make it work.
And Brockman here with Jack 10 suited is
under the gun.
As beautiful as it looks.
Crazy, yeah.
You're under the gun. You got 8 hands behind you.
He doesn't want to give it up, but he knows he has to.
It's definitely a fold in the spot. Talking about short stacks.
Yeah. I love playing it.
Oh man, it's a great hand to play when you can.
Oh, Andrew's
and look
all
at this,
in.
Andrew. And Karen says I want to count, so she obviously maybe has a hand that can have a considerable decision here. This will be interesting to see what the hands are.
I don't see Andrew was doing that just to get Tom's money.
Oh yeah, no, Andrew's definitely very strong.
He's got something here.
And check offsuit.
Picture cards. Oh, Karen with the ace king.
Karen with the ace king, and fortunately for her, she has short stacks all behind her.
So she's made the call.
And I think she actually repopped it there.
She put the stack of she put $1 million in?
Oh, excuse me, it was
I guess it's a call of 820. But did Tom folded?
And Tom folded. He wants to ladder up. He's hoping this ace king holds and he gets an extra 800.
He had an ace.
Ace 9.
Tom had an ace. Well, so when ace is gone for Karen,
so Tom
still
is
a heavy favorite.
Tom is really rooting for the ace king to hold here. I think everyone at the table is always going to be rooting for the big stack in this spot.
We could have our first knockout. Andrew at risk. That's Andrew right there on the left.
Pot. This is a big pot.
So the queen jack, there you go, is the all-in hand against the ace king. And ace king jack.
We've got a sweat. Andrew's now looking for a jack or a 10. 2 cards to come. 9 of hearts on the turn. Andrew's still looking for only a jack or a 10. We can see that he has 4 outs remaining. 2 of his outs, the Jack 10 of hearts was folded.
The river card, 6 of spades, and that will do it. Our first casualty of this final table will be Andrew, all in with Queen Jack, and Karen woke up with Ace King. And so Andrew will take home around $2,200. And so he bought in for $240, so a nice return. A long day of play for Andrew, and he should be very proud of what he did.
Yeah, great run, Andrew. And we were talking with Andrew right before we went on air here, and he actually said that him and Karen got it all in pre-flop, blind versus blind, with only a couple, 2 or 3 tables remaining. I believe 2 tables remaining. Andrew had 10s against Karen's ace queen. Karen won the flip, and he made a nice comeback, and she
took the last of his little chippies there.
So, yeah, great run, Andrew. Definitely should feel great about your run.
So yeah, Andrew works for you, by the way. He's a programmer for the state of California.
Nice.
So he's doing his work. He was actually, as you mentioned, down to he had enough chips for 1 round, and then managed to overcome that, and came back, finished in 9th place, made the final table here at the very first Quantum event at Stone's Gambling Hall here. So nice job, Andrew. And we are 8-handed. Doesn't change the dynamic that much.
Not too much.
When you're at a final table like this, but still, keep your eye on Tom in seat 4, gray-haired gentleman with the glasses, and he has I think 210,000. So 1.5 big blinds.
He's got to get it in now. And folds around to Francisco, who shoves from the small blind with Jack 10 suited. The blinds are now 80,000, 160,000. It's a very standard shove with 10 big blinds, and the small blind is folded to you. You have to make that shove. And Francisco takes it
There
down.
you go, Francisco. Makes a nice little pot there, actually.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So up to 14 big blinds, $1.8 million for Francisco.
Here's an interesting question for us in the chat.
Okay.
From Hi Ho Silver. How did you two first get started playing poker? How did you get most of your knowledge? And what are some key concepts you would say a novice player trying to get better should look into? So let's start with, how did you first start playing poker?
Yeah, well, for me, I played with my friend's little 5-card draw early on. I loved playing games at home. I played a lot of games with my mom. She was a teacher, so we played a lot of games. She used to cheat, and so she always denied it, but I saw her. And then I never played any poker until I started calling a World Series of Poker. And by that time, it was I was the
What year did you start calling?
2002.
Okay.
I did the first year with Gabe Kaplan, and then the last 15 with Norman Chad. And so it just became a priority. You had to play. We were part of the poker boom too. I mean, yeah, we were, helping it along, but we were caught up in it, and the whole crew was caught up in it. And like anybody of that age and that time, we played poker. And the production company head, we had offices in New York, and his conference room table was a custom-made poker table. And we just would go there every night and play poker when we're done working. And had regular tournaments and everything, and just work my way through that. And watching so many hands on TV from the best players. It's finally starting to seep in. I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know what was important. And now I'm at a level where I can take something and help.
That's awesome.
Myself. How about yourself?
Yeah, just really quick, Tom C has finally found his all-in spot.
Oh yeah, sorry, we got a game here.
He moved all in for 1.5 big blinds with ace-5 of diamonds from the cutoff. Brockman in the small blind calls with king-jack offsuit. Steve calls in the big blind. So 2 hands here.
Triple up for Tom.
Triple up for Tom. An ace on the flop would put a stranglehold in his hand for him. And look at that. Ace, diamond.
Oh, wow.
He has such a great spot here. He's only looking to avoid a non-diamond 10. And it looks like these players are trying to check down a player out here on Tom C. And unless a non-diamond 10 pops off, there it is, the absolute nuts. How beautiful is this spot for Tom? Don't have to worry about anything. And he's gonna more than triple up.
And the other guys go, oh,
Quadruple up almost there.
cockroach. Yeah, with the blinds and everything. So, yeah.
So 8 players still remain. Back on the question, I started getting into poker. My dad, he always tells me he played as much poker in the 70s and 80s as he did his regular job.
Oh, is that right?
He was a stud player.
Stud player, I was going to say. It had to be a stud player.
And he even said he didn't like it in the 80s, the late 80s, when Texas Hold'em really started getting really popular. Because he was such a crusher in the stud games, and he was not a crusher when Hold'em came.
And they were going away, weren't they?
As he said, and instead when you have a flush, it's a big hand. And he didn't understand in Hold'em when you have a flush, it's not necessarily a big hand when there's 4 hearts on the board.
Yeah.
And but he got me into online poker when I was 12.
He got you into it.
He got me into it.
Really?
And he said, here's the rules of the game. Let me teach you this game. He taught it to me when I was in the 6th grade. And he said, here you go. Start playing online for play money. Start gaining experience and this and that. And he actually let me start playing on his real poker account for real money when I was 17.
Okay.
And I've been hooked basically ever since I was 12 years old.
Interesting.
I would say about right at the time when I was 12, I played online every weekend just about for 4 or 5 years, once a week for a couple hours.
Were you picking up the books or the early books?
I was actually all self-taught.
Really?
I was just self-taught.
Were you a math head?
I was a math head, and definitely by the time I turned 18, I started having some success online and started winning consistently in college. And
where'd you go to college?
I went to Santa Barbara City College.
So did I.
And got my 2 degree. And
I'm a vaquero. I am a vaquero as well.
Oh, nice.
And a gaucho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. I was actually debating whether to continue on UCSB, and I was just.
At that point, for me, it was easier. They had an easier transfer. You go to from the city college, you could jump right to UCSB at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little different.
I was too into the poker. I was playing about 30 hours a week online during the entire.
Is that right?
Two years there, I went to college, and at that point in time, I built up a role and wanted to just go full time and go full blast. I've been doing it ever since.
My favorite part about that was that the college parking lot was also the beach parking lot.
Oh my gosh! I don't think there's a better place to go to college in the entire country than Santa Barbara.
And they had that hotel restaurant and program training people to work in restaurants and everything. You get this full, beautiful breakfast when I was there for $2 and sit out on the deck and just overlook the beach and before you go to
so
class.
Perfect. I love it. I love Santa Barbara.
Where'd you live?
I was in Isla Vista, right in the heart of it there.
While you were at City College?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I lived downtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I went there, UCSB, that was in 2007. UCSB was ranked the #2 party school in the nation, so
I know.
It was a lot of fun.
Failure.
It was a lot of fun.
#2.
Gosh. And here we go, back to the action. Karen under the gun with 9s. She's raising to 320,000, just a straight min raise. And she's going to take it down. And with the blinds being this big, I really like the super small sizing here. I mean, if you have a really strong hand, there's absolutely no reason to raise more than 2.5 times the big blind at this point.
Yeah, because people look at that and it's very daunting. I mean, it's so much of your stack, such a percentage. And keep that in mind. Michael's right. I mean, take a look at the blinds, take a look at how deep the stacks are relative to what's going on. And you don't have to risk that much. And that's why the standard raise in poker has come down from the 3x, 4x to 2.2 because it gets the same job done for less invested.
Exactly.
Basically. But also you get the whole dynamic of enticing the big blind to call and then taking it down with a c-bet, and that extra added value for that. Is there too much c-betting, do you think? Or is it overall it's gonna Texas Jack with Ace 10? Overall it's gonna be worth it.
I think most people have it.
Should people
where it should be? I think
put a little throttle on it.
I definitely think there are spots that should not be c-bet, even heads up in position.
Here we go for Texas Jack.
Here we go, Texas Jack. A very necessary.
Tom's got to go too, right?
Not now.
Not now. Not with Texas Jack.
Yeah, this is a very necessary, very standard shove from Texas Jack. Another guy with Ace 10 offsuit.
Texas Jack is not the short stack.
And Karen with Ace 9 offsuit. And this is going to be a very tough spot to get away from. I mean, look at her stack as well.
Look
I mean,
how much of it is in her
4.6 million.
stack. Yeah, she'll still have over 4 million if she
It's
calls and loses.
490 to win 950K. This is the second time that she has to make this call.
Yeah.
It's just a very unfortunate spot for her. And
Watch this.
Texas Jack is gonna love life right here.
Look at her face. Oh, Texas Jack. In line for $1.4 million pot is Texas Jack. I tell you, you check the Stones Live Gazette tomorrow. It's going to say Texas Jack. It's the quantum champion. But anyway, ace 10 at risk for Texas Jack. Ace 10 ahead. Dominating Karen, the big stack right now. Suits are going in Karen's favor.
And
not a bad flop for the 9.
And now Karen is looking for a 9 and a 9 only.
Sure, clubs on the end, and there's the double up again for Texas Jack.
He's back in it.
If every hand he plays, he doubles up. I mean, how can he not be the winner? He's wearing a Cowboys hat. Did they win tonight? Do you know?
I do not know.
Played Philly.
I am so out of tune with anything other than basketball. I'm a basketball junkie. Have been my whole life. Any other sport is just...
Let's see if I can get it real good. What was the Dallas Cowboys score?
Spoiler alert, if you guys tape the Dallas Cowboy game, you might want to
Oh my God.
for a second.
Wow.
They got smacked.
Cowboys lost. I won't tell you who I am. Oh, well, he did. So, still proudly wearing the Cowboys star is Texas Jack, who's now 12 big blinds off the single-digit schneid. Tom with 6 bigs. Didn't Tom had 2, right? And he did basically a triple.
Yeah. Tom had 1.5 big blinds.
Right. Yeah, less than 2.
And we have a question here in the chat. What was the buy-in? So the first 5 starting flights of this tournament was a $120 buy-in with a 10,000 starting stack. The next 2 flights was a $240 buy-in with a 20,000 starting stack. And then 4 out of the 9 players here at this final table took option number 3 to buy in for $900. Start day 2 with 100,000 in chips. The blind started today at 1,000, 2,000. And players that made it into day 2 more than once got an additional $900 rewarded to them. In fact, over $38,000 of this prize pool was distributed to players that made day 2
before he even got here today. Yeah. And then there was a bubble to get to the money today.
Yeah, everyone that made it to day 2 the first time got $250, and if you made it to day 2 more than once, you got an additional $900. I think Justin said if you were to play every single flight and make it to day 2 every single time, I think it was somewhere around $5,400 given to you
to get that
if you made it to day 2 every single time.
Which is better than, it's like 5th place money or something like that. 6th place money is 5,000.
Yeah, you're getting 6th place money basically if you.
Oh, Tom with a pocket pair.
And this, you gotta shove this. I hope he shoved.
I'm assuming that's what that string. No, he just called.
Tom.
It might work anyway.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, okay.
There's the all-in chip.
What was that?
My apologies, Tom. Very nice hand. Played it perfect. Gotta shove.
We love you.
What a beautiful spot there. No decision. You're waiting for a hand. You're under the gun with, what, 4.5 or 5 big blinds. You get 8s.
Right. Now 6. Still a short stack. Karen the big stack, 4 million.
And look at this. 5 out of 7 players now at this final table have 10 big blinds or less.
And it's a matter of who's going to take it. I mean, if you're a big stack, you don't want the small stacks combining forces to create one big stack against you. You want to pick them off one at a time while keeping a short stack to keep that medium stack pressure dynamic out there. Not that you can pick and choose who you're going to knock out, but you can pick and choose who you're going to put pressure on. You were talking about your dad loving stud and everything, and the one thing I like most about Stones is you can play a variety of games. You're not going to find stud,
no.
But
really won't find stud anywhere.
You're going to find limit here. Limit actually is pretty popular here. They have some very nice promos on limit and bonuses and the like. And Omaha is thriving here as well.
Yeah, they have limit Omaha low as we saw earlier this week with you there, and They offer Potland Omaha a few nights a week.
I did not know how big the game was I was playing last Wednesday night until we sat down and were buying chips. Veronica never told me. I assumed, it was my fault. I assumed we were playing 4-8 and it turned out to be 8-16, which plays smaller than it sounds.
Yeah.
8-16 no limit. It's monster.
There's still a lot of swings. There's some big swings in that game.
There really, yes, there were.
There were a few different $1,000 pots that night.
Oh, Mary crushed as long as I was there.
Yeah.
And the game went for 29 hours.
I heard that. In fact, yeah.
I came the next day to play Quantum, and they were still playing that game.
Yeah. I saw Scott, I think you saw him too, sitting in seat 1.
Yeah, he had left.
I had to ask, he came back. I was like, oh man, you're not pulling the 24-hour one, are you?
But there are some guys who look like they've been there for a lot of that time. But yeah, the 8-16 Omaha high-low game here, it's on 29 hours the other night.
That was a sick game.
We started with Veronica and friends around 5 or 6 o'clock Wednesday night, and they were still here the next night.
That was a wild one.
You can do it, though. You can do it.
And Steven in the hijack, coming in for a raise with ace-8 of spades. Raises to $350,000. And Tom C with pocket nines.
Go Tom. You got money in the pot.
This is a 100% shove spot. You've got...
And the thing that we're seeing, and I think he's going to come to the right decision, but people at a final table like this for the first time, they don't realize how valuable a hand like that is. I mean,
you have to shove here. This is actually what I would classify as a fist pump shove spot.
This is what you're loving. You're loving life right now. You should be loving, right? Exactly.
You're gonna have some fold equity to take it down pre-flop. Your nines are gonna match up really well against this open here, which, as we can see, Steven, I can't really imagine would call this if Tom C shoved for 1.2 million. I would imagine Steven would probably fold this.
Now, if I could crawl inside Tom's head and Texas Jack's head as well, I'm guessing, because I have the same thought, that you give your opponents at a final table like this too much credit.
Too much credit, and that...
Don't value your own hand.
I hate using the word fear, but there is a lot of, players just don't want to get knocked out. You want to try and, is there a way I can call here and just see the flop and be careful? And I think that you have, like you said, you have to understand that nines plus with less than 10 big blinds is just such a big hand.
So
and now this will be very interesting to see what happens here. If this gets checked through, or Tom, you got to be loving this flop. 5-5-6.
Francisco came in with a couple of spades. Unfortunately, Steven has 2 others.
And as it turns out, if Tom would have shoved pre-flop, I believe he would have taken it down. He ended up calling and getting an extra call, a tiny little extra value in there from the big blind calling.
Interesting.
And he's going to take it down.
And doesn't have to show. We are in a 20-minute delay, just so you know. We are watching the action along with you. Our commentary is live. The action that you're seeing is 20-minute delay. And so the players do have the opportunity, like any live stream, to have people helping them, texting them information on other hands. It's also being shown a couple monitors here in the room, so players can go and take a look if they want. None have left the table, but when they're on break, they can go watch if it's on delay and see that action as well. So,
and we have a question here in the chat. Jars TV says, "What are the cards next to their chips?" And I believe he's referring to the plaques.
The plaques, yeah.
Those blue plaques, the placards as they're called, are worth $25,000.
They're a little bigger than a playing card size, and heavy plastic.
I've only played with them in Europe.
And that's where you think about them down there.
You guys were talking about that 8-16 Omaha Stones live game that went overnight?
Yes.
That thing ran 29 hours.
Yep.
And fun fact, Scott in seat 1, when the game started, was still sitting there when it broke the next day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's Justin Curious.
What are you doing with a suit on? Ray's got a suit on.
How you guys doing?
What up? Looking fresh.
You got a haircut and everything.
I know.
Sweet.
Growing up a little bit.
It's nice. I like to see it. So yeah, Justin, our TD verifying everything we already said. Justin, okay.
Yeah, that was a wild 16 game, wasn't it? And
So, yeah.
looks like Sean has a playable hand here. King Jack
does.
suited.
Haven't seen much of Sean.
He's got 1.6 million in chips, exactly 10 big blinds, and looks like he's just going to be coming in for a raise. And this is the number one difference that I see here at Stones. You know, like I said, I've been playing a lot online lately. Oh wow, look at this. Texas Jack with pocket tens. He is moving all in.
Yep.
And I think this is another example as to why what I was saying is, you know, King Jack of clubs with 10 big blinds is just a push or a fold. And I think with King Jack suited, you have to push here. And this is a perfect example. If you push here,
I wonder
Texas
what
Jack is going to call.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a flip rather than a spot here where you feel like you're crushed. He's probably going to fold here. A hand like King Jack of clubs with 10 bigs, I feel like you got to
plays better earlier. Now he's caught himself, really backed himself into a corner. And knowing Texas Jack and his range.
Yeah, this is not a spot that anyone wants to be in here. And
Just figured, does he want to gamble? But he doesn't. That's the first step towards folding.
and he lays it down.
Yeah. It's usually a 3 or 4 step process to fold for most
And what I was
people.
saying was, you know, in my opinion, you know, online play, the overall level of play is a lot higher. And you definitely don't see that as much. You definitely don't see this situation here where someone has 10 big blinds, raises 2.5 times the big blind, and then folds, leaving themselves with 7.5. You know,
Right. No, that's true.
online you see a lot more push fold with hands like that, and it's such an interesting thing to observe, because I see here all the time where someone even has 8 big blinds and they have a hand that they should be shoving, and instead they open to 2.7 times the blind
Right.
and fold for the last 5 blinds, and it's a very interesting thing to watch and to kind of try and understand. Obviously you can see what people are understanding because they're valuing their tournament life so much.
Exactly. And that is something that's hard to let go, and that's something that it's still taking me a long time to learn to play it properly.
Yes.
And then, you know, enjoy the benefits or suffer the consequences, but play it properly.
Yes.
Because in the long run, it will benefit you. And that's one of the things, as a poker ambassador for Stones here, I love that we're seeing people like this at this final table. It tells you that, you know, they're interested enough in the game to learn enough about it to, you know, have navigated the field. Obviously, they got lucky in spots. The card distribution was good for them, and that's fine. But it's going to bring them back. And we always need to have the grassroots effort in poker. You can never stop bringing new people into the game, because there will be that gap somewhere, and it will bubble up all the way to the top. And keep the game healthy. It's healthy for everyone.
And that last hand there, it folded to Francisco's button. He shoved all in with Queen Jack offsuit for 1.2 million. Very standard shove, and he takes it down. And actually, just from observation there, I think Francisco's appearing to be a very good player. He's made a lot of very correct lighter shoves, and
this is I mean, he understands it. He doesn't have a lot of results. He's a limo driver, is Francisco, from Sacramento. This is going to be turning up to be his biggest cash.
Nice.
He was the one, as we mentioned, down to one single 10 or 2.
Gotta love the comeback story.
10,000 chips.
Sick.
I mean, the blinds were, I think they were 50 and 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he had one chip, or 10,000 worth of chips. And woke up with pocket kings, and here he is.
And Sean gets a walk.
So 4 players with fewer than 10 big blinds, but it hasn't, you know.
And wow, I just realized Steve, who was once our commanding chip lead,
all his chips are gone.
he has 5 big blinds on the button.
He was our chip leader. He was over the first one over 4 million. He went over 4 million very quickly. We're talking about Steve at the far end there with the blue and the beard. He made the call with the pocket eights.
Yeah,
he made the call with the pocket
was,
fours. That was a huge hand to double up Steven.
Yeah, the eights was a definite misstep for him.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can make a comeback here and get back in it.
Karen, almost 4 million. There's ace 5, not suited. Where are you going, Texas Jack?
And this will be interesting to see if he gets a penalty for this. This is definitely something you should not be doing here. It's going to influence action possibly with Karen seeing it. There's a hand folded to her left. If she had a hand that she was on the fence with, she might now raise because her hand is essentially moved over one position. We're Texas Jack fans, so we hope he doesn't get a penalty.
Yeah,
here, but it might be in place.
But it
doesn't seem like it will be. It doesn't seem like anyone really is.
They might get a warning, or just, like I said, first time here. But not first time at a poker table. You shouldn't do that at any stage of the tournament. And it's amazing what does influence action. You may not think of it as a knocker, so fold me when it's my turn, and you walk away. It tells people that there are 2 unplayable cards that are out of the deck. So bad that you're going to run away from your hand. So.
And here's a question on the chat here for you, Lon. They ask, how do you compare stones in play and elegance to other card rooms you have been to? How do you compare stones in play and elegance?
I haven't played as many places as I've traveled to watch poker. We've done. I did play in Australia. I played some in France. And maybe a little bit in England. But it's amazing you think about those places, and they aren't elegant at all. The Crown in Australia is a beautiful, huge, monstrous place. And it's like Grand Central Station for poker down there. It's amazing how big and busy it is, and they run it well. It's a beautiful spot. The only elegant casino I was in was in Monte Carlo. That was a special trip. You have to pay to get into it and all like that. For stones, it's such an easy setting. It's comfortable. I don't know. You just get a good feeling.
It's really great.
Comfortable here, and so you're not crowded. The seats are nice. I'm the ambassador, but I chose to be here. It's not because I have to be here. Anyway, get it all in.
Yeah, this is a very interesting hand. Francisco, open raise to 420,000 with ace jack of clubs. Karen, 3 bets all in with king queen of spades, and now Francisco is put to the absolute test. Does he want to call off his stack here with ace jack of clubs?
Which here at Stones, people say is the parking lot hand. And he does fold it, I'm imagining. Karen knows she got away with something.
And look at that, Karen increases her stack 640,000 more. But yeah, going back to Stones here. Yeah, Stones. This is you look around. It's
a
very unique room.
Yeah, it is.
It's very unique.
And the staff here is well trained. The dealers, I think, are top notch. They really are.
I think it says a lot, when a lot of people see Lon McEachern as the ambassador for Stones. Like you said, you don't have to be here. You're going to choose, obviously, an elite casino to have your name on it, and that says a lot. This is I think the number one thing I hear most about this place is the atmosphere and the relationships, the friendliness.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of casinos you go into and everyone's in their zone, and it's got the kind of cutthroat mentality, and that is not the case here. Obviously we're all here to win and take each other's chips, but it's a very friendly, nice atmosphere, and obviously this room is only 3 years old, so it's top of the line as far as quality goes.
Right, exactly.
It's got everything you need. It's got everything you want in a casino. Non-smoking poker room, non-smoking facility.
Everyone talks about the food.
The food's so good.
Check this out. Texas Jack with another pocket pair.
And look at this.
And this is just a call?
And I believe Karen has limped in, and I believe Texas Jack put in a raise of 400,000 more.
And Karen called.
So he raised to 480K, I believe. And this is just a spot. When the small blind limps right here, you've got about 10 or 11 bigs. I really feel like you just got to shove it all in here with 9.
2 overs for Karen. And neither comes home.
King, deuce, deuce. And now Karen checks to you, and looks like Texas Jack is going to bet, and she's going to have to lay this down. And looks like a bet of 200,000 into 1.1 million.
Tiny bet.
And it gets the job done.
There you go.
Texas
Look at
Jacks,
that.
second in chips. Love it. And wow, look at this. Look how short these stacks are. And these blinds are going up in another 9 minutes. This is gonna. There's gonna be a lot of blood really soon here.
The big rig driver for Pepsi.
He's doing it. Texas Jack in the house.
Is driving it home here. And what? He's played. What, 5 hands?
Yeah,
something
no, he's
like
really,
that?
yeah,
I mean,
he's just.
That's the
at good
benefit.
spots.
He's getting, good hands. Any pot is monstrous with these stacks of these blinds.
Here's the all-important question from Tira's in the chat. Lon, how come you and Norman have not been inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame yet? That is the all-important question.
Probably because they know Norman too well.
Definitely expect to see that.
You know what?
In
The
future.
thing I do think and that's nice of you to say. That's very gratifying. But the Poker Hall of Fame dug themselves a deep hole when they started, and anytime you start a Hall of Fame, there's automatically a line out the door that should be in already, but they've limited themselves to 2 inductees per year. And so there's a backlog of probably 40 people that should be in.
That's crazy.
That can't
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow, 2 a year.
So
in 150 years from now, they might be caught up.
it might be caught.
Maybe.
Maybe
Probably
we'll
not,
be
'cause
in.
they're
Maybe
never-
yeah, we'll still be calling it. But I do hear rumors that they may start what they call a builders category, people who aren't players, because there's been that thing. If you go strictly by their guidelines, somebody like Chris Moneymaker should not be in, and Daniel Negreanu was chronicled this whole thing. He doesn't play high stakes. There's things that you need to do. So if you're going by the letter of the law, and so they are talking about this other non-player builders type category, people who are critical to the game's success and important to the history of the game, and et cetera, et cetera. So tournament directors could get in, and things, talking about TV producers and things like that. So that's.
I can't
They may
believe
expand that.
2 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
believe
You can name so many people that should be there. And I think this year Devilfish Elliott got in. I think he was the first European guy to get in.
Yeah.
And look at the guy who was a chip leader at the start.
Wow.
Is all in, forced to go all in with Jack 10 off.
Karen just folded Jack 10 off, so he's going to be in a coin flip situation with at least 2 of his whole cards folded. Expect to see this fold back around to Eric Brockman, and we're going to see a coin flip here. Yep, looks like we'll see a flip here.
And so Steve from Carmichael, Brockman from Carmichael, not far from Stones, are butting heads here, and our former chip leader when we started, under 1 million chips now. It's the Jack 10 at risk.
And Jack in the window.
Wow, and
Jack
Jack
10-9. And Brockman now picks up a gutter ball straight draw. He can improve here with a 7 or an 8. And Brockman now looking for a 7 or an 8 on the river to knock out Steve.
The river, another Jack.
And wow, what an incredible board with Karen also flopping. Karen folded Jack 10s.
Oh,
Wow.
so the case Jacks.
The case Jacks hit come out. Wow. And you have to love that. Obviously, Steve was very aware he was going to be in the big blind in 2 hands, and realistically had to go all in the next 3 hands. And to go all in with Jack 10 from under the gun +1 when under the gun raises, and to be flipping a coin there, obviously have to love that spot.
It's just, I still find it amazing that, it comes around to him, he has to go with Jack 10. It's in that moment, and the board run out the way it is.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's just like, really?
And he's now 4th in chips with 12 big blinds, Steve, after winning that flip. That was a very crucial flip for either player.
And so, yep, Brockman taking the hit there with a pocket pair. Texas Jack never takes a hit with a pocket pair, though. That's what we've been seeing. And he just has to play what comes to him, right?
That's right.
And it's working out perfectly for him because he's a player that he's not going to mix it up. He knows that he probably is not going to be a favorite trying to, play post flop against these guys without a premium hand.
Yeah.
And so let's just play pre-flop, and I'm going to play my pocket pair. And he obviously knows the value of a pocket pair.
And folds around to Francisco, who's moving all in out of the small blind, as he should, with King 10 offsuit for 1.2 million at this point. And especially his effective stacker is a lot shorter, as Brockman's stack is extremely short now. His hand's even stronger. And Eric's trying to decide if he wants to...
He's got $500,000, huh?
Get it in here with the Jack 7, hopefully drawing live, which he is, or wait for a better spot. He is the short stack at the table.
He's got to pay the small blind still next.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is a spot I definitely would expect a lot of players. Some players would fold here, some players would call here.
Yeah, I would lean towards him folding. But he certainly knows it's that borderline hand that he has right now. He's going to have to give up 100 and an ante and the small blind in the next hand. So he would be down to 425. And even a double up with 425, so he's going to give it up. Okay. And it comes down to, I know I'm beat.
Yeah.
And if he can get through the small blind, maybe if he can pick up a hand here, and then he's got one more round to find a real hand. He's the short stack now. 3 big blinds for Brockman. Eric Brockman came in with $1.8 million.
Yeah,
Nothing has gone his way.
I really think that's a spot there with the current situation of the stack size. I think you have to get it in there.
Yeah.
The fact is
Okay.
You are the extreme short stack now. You're probably going to be drawing live, which you are in that spot, and most of the time.
So balance drawing live versus probably knowing you're up against an overcard. I mean, this comes down to your gut, your... it's tough. I mean, yeah.
I definitely can't blame him for making the fold, obviously.
Right.
Obviously, we could see why he did, and...
Interesting here.
The small blind is going to chew him up here in the antes. He's going to be extremely short when he finally finds a spot. And obviously, if someone gets knocked out here before he finds a spot, he'll be feeling really good about laddering up another spot. But
Texas Jack opening for a raise to 400,000.
And folds around now to Steven, the big blind. He looks like he gave a little bit of a genuine wince there, so looks like he might have a decision, and there it is. Pocket sevens, facing a raise from a tight player like Texas Jack.
Who has shown nothing but pocket pair.
And even though Texas Jack has been playing fairly tight, and obviously, wow, and he just folds face up.
Wow. Respect.
That is respect.
And he shows.
And he shows the ace-10 of hearts. He's
He's the second place, Texas Jack. Crawling up the ladder.
second in chips. Loving life.
He hasn't laddered up yet because nobody's busted out.
Yes.
So we gotta wait. But
Steve walking away there knowing if he moved all in right there, he would have taken down pre-flop. I can't imagine Texas Jack is ever going to call her with ace-10 of hearts, but definitely understand. I mean, like asked before in the chat, ICM is a real thing. There are a couple of short stacks here. Steve has a stack that doesn't warrant a necessary shove there with pocket sevens. He has an average stack basically right now, and didn't want to run into the possible brick wall of Texas Jack there. Could have easily had nines plus, or ace king ace queen. You're flipping a big unnecessary coin flip there in a spot where you can just kind of get away from.
And we have a required disclaimer right now. We have to apologize. Yes, we do have a left-handed dealer here at Stones. Cameron can't help himself. So once in a while, the rotation just something goes wrong, and we have to have a left-handed dealer. So we do apologize, and Stones will refund your money.
And here we go. Eric shoving the button for 405,000. And I believe
Steve's
the blinds. I believe the blinds are still
for this hand.
I believe for this hand, I believe they're still 80,000, 160,000, as we see the yellow chip there on top of the big blind. So this will be the last hand of 80,000, 160. And it looks like
Sean waking up with something here?
Looks like Steve just flat called the raise from the small blind with the pocket eights.
I think so. He threw out the 4 gray chips, I believe.
And Sean now at 5-7 diamonds. Definitely priced in to call 245,000. There's already 1.1 in the middle.
Quarter of a stack. So he calls.
And he really does not want to see a 7-high flop here. This would be an absolute disaster for him.
Brockman not feeling good about his show right now.
And I mean, with these stack sizes, I definitely would have shoved all in if I were Steve right there out of the small blind. Because now you're just not going to know where you're at with a bunch of overcards here against Sean's flat call exactly right.
Wow, what a flop for Brockman.
Wow, Brockman. We are not going to see, most likely, another casualty here. And
he boats up.
Just for good measure. Just to make sure that the 8 doesn't, in case the 8 comes.
Quads. Nice non-shove with a Jack 7, all right?
Yes. Wow, very nice. He's got to be feeling real good right now. 1.4 million, back in the hunt, back in the pack.
Eric with quad 10s, tripling up and a little more. Just got better with every street.
We have a question here in the chat. It says, you may have gotten this question already. If so, I am sorry, but why the James Bond bricks? Haven't seen them in any casinos before.
That's why.
That's why. Because they're James Bond type chips. They look awesome. They feel awesome. And Stones always wants to...
people like to play. People like the plaques.
Awesome.
I do think, and they're probably working on it, getting a 100K real 100K, because there's just too many of them.
Yeah.
For one, and we know that, and it's not a great look, you know. Let's be honest, okay? And they're a little unwieldy, but they're fun to have. Maybe they should be the 100K.
They should be the 100K. They should be the boss chips.
Yeah.
And another
but
question.
They were the boss chips, 25K, until they started getting so many people here. So many chips in play. 15 million chips in play, folks.
Wow. And now folds around to Francisco, who is once again doing what I was talking about here in the live setting. You just don't see online very much. It's folded around to him with 9 big blinds, and he is putting in an open raise. I really don't like this play. I think when you have 9 big blinds with a hand like this, it's just push or fold.
Do people think that the non-shove indicates a little more strength because you're wanting more people in the hand?
I think it's once again people worrying about the tournament life thing. They want to.
They're not leveling that much.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, Steve with ace queen, and he's got to find some chips. Bring back some of those chippies home.
And
he's all
definitely
in.
expecting to move all in here. This is a pretty standard play. You're facing a late position raise. The stack sizes are so short. There's nothing else to really do here.
And so Francisco's frugalness,
and he's gonna have to fold,
may save him here.
When you've got 9 big blinds or less, you know, unless you're min raising with a really big pair to try and get action, you really should just be pushing or folding. As shown right here, you know, it's just, this hurts Francisco so much. He just basically folded, he just basically raised almost 2 rounds of blinds in a spot where he just didn't need to. Can't imagine he's ever going to call here. The question is he really considering this? Is this just pure Hollywood, or is he actually considering, man, do I have to call now since I put this raise in?
I don't see the benefit for the Hollywood.
I think he might. I think he's really considering this.
The payout right now about 3,000. The payout after this is 4,000. So basically a $1,000 bubble.
And looks like he's gonna fold.
Housekeeping complete. Usually a peak means fold.
And another question here from Gorilla Gunner in the chat. Mike, what do you do if you go all in? Do you look at the player, the pot, etc.? Definitely just kind of
Fold.
I don't know about you, but whenever I'm all in a tournament.
Oh, and you're waiting for somebody to decide?
Yeah, if you're waiting for someone to
that's
decide,
good,
what are
yeah.
you doing? What are you staring at? What are you looking at? I'm generally just gonna, you know, just be looking at the board, looking at, or you know, the flop area.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Try not to make too much movement. Try not to move my eyes around too much. Pick a spot. Stare at it. It's for me anyways.
Just find a comfortable spot.
Yep.
You know, and it will not tell anybody anything if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You know, a neutral spot to look at. I mean, if yours is, you know, to look down and close your eyes, that's fine. I don't think you want to be staring at the other player.
No. Yes, there are still 8 players.
Right?
Here.
How long have we been saying that?
We've been on the air here for over 2 hours, and somehow only 1 player has been knocked out. It's pretty amazing to watch, actually. At this rate, we will be done tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. So
That's right.
everyone, get your Red Bull and
come down and watch the
Starbucks out.
finish of this final
Yeah.
table. We'll be signing autographs
right.
at high noon. Here goes Francisco with the King Jack. Oh.
And wow, what an unfortunate spot for Francisco. A very standard shove with King Jack for only $1 million.
And it's been nice to have you,
And
Francisco.
Steve
You were
gets
lucky
the
to get
dream,
here.
looking down at pocket aces, and someone has already moved all in. Doesn't get a whole lot better than this.
So now the question is, does Steve want to invite others?
You definitely want a flat call here. You definitely want to invite any possibility of someone making a call with pocket eights or ace queen or any type of hand like that.
He wanted to isolate.
And there it is. Just
Prince.
talking about 8 players left. We will be down to 7 players here. 85% of the time.
Francisco Ramirez, the limo driver, will be looking for a ride home very soon here if he does not catch. But
He can afford a limo here after this catch.
Yeah,
He gets
exactly.
knocked out. And as you can see there, the percentages on the screen are taking into account the cards that were folded by the other players. Steve is an 89% favorite. And look at this. This is not the flop Steve wanted to see,
No, it's
actually.
not.
Francisco now has 4 outs. He's drawing 9%. He can hit a queen without pairing the board. He's praying for a queen on the river now. A queen and a queen only will keep Francisco alive. Otherwise, we will be down to 7 players here.
the river, another deuce. So another full house. We can't get away without a full house.
Right.
So Francisco is out in 8th place, done in by Steve, who is our chip leader. And Steve has to feel a lot better about his situation right now as he's up to 3.6 million.
Yeah, and great run. Great run there by Francisco. He played a good game, and 8th place for $3,090. And I believe Francisco was a $900 buy him? No.
No, he was. Yeah, I'm not sure I got that info from him. I don't have his info on that.
I believe he was a 120 or 240 though, so really nice profit for
Yeah,
Francisco,
absolutely.
and great run, and definitely got to keep your head held high and feel good about that.
All right, so 7-handed now. And 7-handed where it starts to change a little bit in what you're playing with and opening up your range and thinking of the same of the others, and unless you're looking at Texas Jack, when you know his range is just going to be right there, right there. Boy, what a comeback for Steve,
Wow,
huh?
Steve is just, he's
loving it.
He's obviously a very good player. It's very easy to detect that from him.
And we've been watching this. His chips just were gone at one point.
Yeah.
They disappeared. They were there and then they weren't.
And now Sean making a very necessary shove as the short stack with 595K. The blinds are now 100,000, 200,000. He's shoving 3 big blinds in.
God, the ante went up too. 30K. That's a quick change in the ante.
This is a drastic jump.
But now I think we talked about the dominoes tumbling.
Yeah, this is gonna,
now the
it's gonna
money
go fast now.
is a little more serious for these local players.
And I really want to see what Texas Jack's folding there. Queen 3 offsuit. See, now with his stack, with 2.4 million, I would be calling that all day long right there for 395K. It's less than 2 big blinds more to call. You have to make that call right there.
4 players with fewer than 10 bigs. Of course, that's going to happen when the blinds go up. You're going to get those. But, I mean, how Tom is hanging on.
Oh, and here we go. Stone's Life Poker in the chat says Francisco was a day 1A, so he was a $120 buy-in.
Good for him.
Awesome.
And I believe Tom was as well. Tom was Tuesday in the very first flight was Tom. Qualified in there.
Very, very nice. Show up for day 1.
So, yeah, the 2 short stacks are hanging in there. You know, tight might be right. You know, certain instances.
Folds around to Karen now on the button, and she moves all in. Ace-7 offsuit. Texas Jack with Ace-9.
Wow, he has dominated her before.
He definitely is going to fold here. He's never calling ever. And Tom, unless he wakes up with a beast, Karen's going to take this down. And she does.
No beast. So well played by Karen. That was might be the only way she would have won that hand. I'm not sure Texas Jack comes in for a huge raise. You know, she didn't need to shove there, I don't think.
I think in that current situation, because Texas Jack is so tight, I really would have actually liked to see, that is the one spot I actually might have sized up a little bit and not raised so small because I want to take it down and commit Tom to basically a spot that's obvious. I'm going to call his all in if he shoves, and I think I might make it. That might be a rare case where I'm going to make it just under 3 times the big blind. Because basically, Tom in the big blind only had 7 big blinds. It's committing yourself to call his all in, and more importantly, you're really trying to push out Texas there in the small blind.
Can you hear?
And that way you can fold. If Texas Jack does go all in, he has a monster, and he would have called the all in, so you can get away and not.
Right. Yeah. Can you hear in your head the story some people are telling with their raise sizing pre-flop?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I feel like people are definitely giving away a
shining
lot.
a light on
what
they're, okay.
Of course. And here we go. Steve under the gun, sticking to his 2.2 type of raise amounts here, raising to 430,000.
Here it comes from Steven, all in. You think?
And Steven is moving
he's all in. He is all in.
For 8 big blinds with Ace-10 offsuit.
And it was 8s last time against Steven that got Steve in trouble. And he remembers that.
In fact, he's laughing. He's laughing right now. totally different scenario this time. He's facing an 8 big blind shove rather than last time he was facing a
That was half his stack, wasn't it?
a 3-bet from someone who had 17 big blinds. Steven. And I mean, you just have to call here. I mean, you're getting...
And you can have redemption.
Yes.
The most important thing.
And the most important thing here is that Steven has 8 big blinds, so his range of hands is going to have a lot of overcards here as evidenced. And, you know, you can afford to call and lose. You still have a healthy 10 bigs in this scenario, and if you are... I really believe Steve's going to call here. And there it is. There's the call. This is a really big flip, folks.
This is huge. 3.7 million chips in the middle. If the 8s hold up, Steve is back into the chip lead.
Yep.
And Steve has made the longest commute from the Bay Area to Reno, stopping off at Stone's for 14 hours to try to win 4,000 minimum.
And here we go.
So it's ace 10 at risk.
Yes.
Hello, come on, Cameron.
what is that?
Cameron, you're squeezing.
4, 6, 7. Great flop for
Good
Steve.
flop for the 8s.
An
Yeah.
8 or a 5 would put a hammerlock on this hand. King on the turn. Steven now looking only for an ace or a 10 on the river to stay alive.
5 of diamonds, and the 8s hold up this time for Steve.
Redemption.
He gets all of his chips back and gets the knockout of Steven after he lost so much of his stack with the pocket 8s before.
And from everything I saw from Steven, watching him play a little bit before the final table started here, definitely a very good player. Great run, Steven. 7th place for $4,070. And I believe Steven was a $900 day 2 buy-in.
Steven was. Yes, he bought in today on his way back from the Bay Area going to Reno.
Nice little 3K profit for him.
And I don't know if he's anything like me. You're wound up after a tournament and you got another hour in you. He's not that far from Reno if he wants to continue his journey tonight. But you see that Steve now with back-to-back knockouts once again is our chip leader.
Momentum is a real thing.
And he had nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
It was 700,000 or something down to
6 big blinds, 5 big blinds.
And Karen,
Guy
meanwhile,
flips to win tourneys.
yeah, Karen has been a spectator most of the time.
Yep. And now
Not
she's
now.
picking up with a very playable, very raisable king-queen offsuit in the hijack. Trying to decide here how much she's going to raise to.
So 6-handed. The next payout about 5,100.
And she just limps in. Very interesting. I'd really like to see a raise here, even if it's just a min raise. You got to come in and show some strength and put some pressure on. And Steve with ace-3 offsuit.
It's going to be worth a call here.
And I believe he's probably just going to check, most likely.
Oh, because she just limped, right?
She just
okay,
limped.
yeah.
Can't imagine him raising her out of position with his hand. And he's saying, "Give me a second, guys.
You're good.
I got to
You're
count
good.
my mountain."
I think
of
he's
chips
worried
here.
about his chips covering the card reader, but the
okay.
card reader is actually picking it up just fine.
And he checks his option, and 680,000 in the middle.
And the king queen
Ace Jack 9.
has a gutter, but there's an ace there for Steve to take the lead.
And it goes check, check. 4 on the turn. Steve definitely expect to see a bet here on the turn now from him. And
Reaching for the 100K chips and a plaque or two. Oh, make it a rainbow.
looks like 2...
245? What is it?
I believe
260.
Karen just said raise. And she raised to 800,000, and now if you're Steve, this is a great play by Karen. I mean, she limped in, which is already suspicious. And look at this, Steve is not a believer.
Well, maybe that limp is costing her now.
I'm really surprised, honestly, how fast Steve
He
called.
did, you're right.
He called fast. There was no... He's locked in on his read here, and he's right. He's got Karen smash. He's looking for a 10 and a 10 only. This will be interesting to see if it comes a blank, and to see if she decides to put the big bluff in here. And this would put Nope. It goes check, and Steve's gonna scoop the pot.
Wow. Karen is sick about that.
Yeah.
A raise probably sheds the ace tray, depending on the raise amount. And maybe he comes in for, I mean, if it's a standard raise, he might come around in the big blind. But
man.
he's got the hot hand now.
Talking about momentum, he's got almost half the chips in play now. From 700,000 just a little bit ago to now almost 7 million.
More than double second place, Karen. So yeah, a little bit of a misstep there. Karen limping in with a king queen.
And Spittle asks, Spittle27, do you think if Steve is not in the big blind, it's a shove to Karen with king queen off against the 6 to 8 big blind stacks? Yeah, definitely. I mean, if there was another 2 million type of stack there in the big blind, I definitely could see her just shoving there with everyone having 10 bigs and less there rather than limping in or raising.
So we continue six-handed from Stones, the Lon and Loncar show for you right here on Twitch from Stones Gambling Hall. Thanks for joining us, Stones Live. I know it's a difficult hour for a lot of you here in the United States.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. I know it's really late for a lot of you, but it's...
Our last Sunday event here at Stones used to be a 2-day event, and we would stream it on Monday. But because so many people here have 9-to-5 jobs, or at least work in some capacity, it was difficult for them to come back the second day. So if they make it a 1-day event, it's going to make the final table a little later. You, of course, at home have the option to pick up on it later. All these are archived. You can go back and you can actually, one of the great things is you can put your hand up like this and block out Michael and just have me in the whole stream, and then you can watch it over and over and over again. It's fine.
And look at this, Texas Jack opening up his range a little bit and putting a min raise in with Jack 10 offsuit. Sean in the big blind only has, I believe, 805,000 to start the hand, so he's going to move all in here, and Texas Jack is going to be priced in after he figures out it's only another 405,000 to call. He's going to have to call here.
I don't think Texas Jack knows that. I don't have to do anything, Michael.
So it's 605 more to call.
Yeah, a little.
And wow, he folds. See, that's the type of thing you really need to analyze if you're playing this game. You need to analyze that the big blind has 1 million in chips, and if I decide to raise this to 400,000, I am making the decision right now that I am calling it all in.
Whatever happens.
If you're not willing to call the big blind's 1 million all in, then you should not be min raising to 400,000.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think a player like Texas Jack, and we talked about this being a brand new experience for him.
Yep.
This is the pinnacle of his poker results to this point. He's a little myopic, and he's not thinking what happens if. What's my next step if they do this?
That's right. Yeah, that's true. He's thinking about right now. What am I going to do? And yeah, you definitely have to think 2 steps ahead in this game.
And at this point, it's a very good lesson. Excuse me, for the folks at home who may be new to the game as well. To keep an eye on the stack sizes.
Yeah.
Because like in that situation, he was caught. He's thinking, oh, if I raise, what if he shoves? He's got a shovable stack, and then I'm hurt and I'm forced to whatever.
Yeah.
But that's so important just to know what the stack sizes are and the players to be acted upon. Acting.
And so Eric Brockman
all in for
wakes up with a fist pump shove. 4 big blinds with pocket 10s in the cutoff. Doesn't really get a lot better than that stack size. And see if Karen has... And Karen once again with that ace.
Tough spot.
Low ace. Again getting 2 to 1 on her money.
I mean, if it's ace 9... you're probably more willing, but you're still going to come with it.
I think you have to make this call here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying, it's so, like, ace 6.
I know.
Give me 2 live cards at least,
Yeah. And now our pocket tens are at risk against Karen's ace-6 offsuit. 2 million pot. To the flop we go.
Eric Brockman at risk with the tens. We'll stick it. There's an ace.
Wow.
Oh, a slow roll ace
The
from Cameron.
slow roll ace. Underneath the 2-2s.
And so
Does
now
have-
the 10.
I was gonna say he has backdoor spades, but not anymore.
And there
Now
you
looking
see.
for only a 10 on the river.
And it's a 7, and that'll do it for Eric Brockman. Another final table here at Stones. A very fine showing, finishes in 6th place. And Karen doing the proper thing. It was difficult for her to muster up that call with ace-6. But as you mentioned, she understood. She's a very experienced player.
Yep.
She understood that was the proper call. And so it comes to fruition there.
Yep. Yeah, both players play the hand correct, and
2 big stacks and then 8 big blinds and fewer for our remaining players as we are down to 5.
and great run to Eric there. 6th place for just over $5,000, I believe.
Yeah, 5,100 or so. Yeah.
And Spittle27 just says it all here in the chat. It's amazing the types of hands these 2 big blind stacks have picked up late in this tourney.
Yeah.
Tom is a hero.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Second knockout for Karen. She actually did score the first knockout of Andrew. And now she takes out Eric Brockman in 6th place. And so she has put an anchor on her 2nd place standing right now with the 3 shorter stacks.
And here we go once again with a situation that, in my opinion, is a must shove. 7.5 big blinds when it folds to your button with King Jack, but he decides once again with his King Jack to just put a small raise in.
And this is just like we figured, the dominoes were all going to fall. Once one fell, the others are going to come soon after with those short stacks. You just have to go.
Yep.
And they hung around to 100, 100, 200 in the blinds. And there's great flop for Sean.
Yeah, Sean's loving life right now. Most likely going to see a bet from Sean and a fold from Karen.
And this is what Karen got herself in for. She wanted to try to pick up something, but she looks at that board and
Yeah, it's about just about the worst possible flop.
Yeah. So Sean,
And he takes it down.
he didn't need to. He probably could have put 1 plaque in there. And all right, so Sean picks up a few chips at 2.3 million, 11 bigs. It did hurt Karen, so Karen down to 17. And our 2 short stacks to begin the 9-handed final table are our 2 short stacks once again, but at a 5-handed table. That's great. That's just, they're like joined at the hip, those 2 guys down there the whole way. So we've got Steve, our original chip leader once again, and Sean and Karen, Texas Jack, and Tom. Remaining here at Stones Gambling Hall, the Lon and Loncar show, bringing you this quantum final table. And we had a similar one-day event. Was it the Accumulator? Is that what it was called?
Yes, yep.
So it was a very similar compacted version of this. This was stretched out from Tuesday to Sunday, as we mentioned, but the Accumulator, which is branded by the same company, Quantum, allows you to buy in for different amounts for different starting
amplifier?
chips. Was it the
Or the accumulator.
amplifier?
I think it's
I think you're amplifier, right? Yeah. So you could buy in early for a smaller buy-in, you get chips. I think a few levels later, you buy in and you get double the chips.
Yeah, there's like 5 different buy-ins. They'll all give you different chip stack sizes at different points of the tourney. Yeah, definitely a really interesting dynamic.
Steve getting busy with the Jack 4. Now with over 7 million chips. A lot of chip envy out there.
That's right.
Double the stack of 2nd place Karen now. And what a great example of what can happen in poker, and we saw it earlier with Francisco, who was down to 1 chip, and he made the final table, and Steve, our chip leader at the start, and then suddenly he's in danger of going out, and now he's back. And the man to beat,
Sean with Ace King.
We haven't seen a lot of Ace King.
No, there hasn't.
That looks like 400 and...
Especially here at the final table here, I would definitely, playing less than 12 big blinds would just open shove this right here. I don't want any possible scenario of a big blind defend, check raise me all in, or...
Yeah, it'll get through.
Shows the Ace King.
People show me Ace King, it's like, just don't show me. The bear in the box. Is that bear?
No. No.
I don't know. No,
That's
not
Carl.
bear. No, bear's no.
That's Carl. Die-hard Raiders fan. Yeah, Raiders fan.
So Thursday nights are big around here too. You guys looking music? Thursdays, Stones music. Just they get a whole place over there. It's like a nightclub here too, as well. Rack attacks. We do rack attacks. Limit hold'em giveaways. They give so much away to limit players.
They do.
Are they still doing the tournament? You can bring a tournament ticket to the cash game and get extra money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're in the tournament, evening tournament or whatever, and you bust out, you take your entry ticket, go play cash, and they'll give you for no limit. I think they give you 20 extra.
I think limit's 40.
More than that, yeah, at least. Just for hanging around. Free money.
It's folded around to Steve now in the small blind with Jack 8 offsuit, and looks like he's.
You have to hammer on the big blind, don't you?
Yeah, looks like he's gonna come in for a raise.
Sean in the big blind.
Looks like a raise to 480.
Yeah. And that's going to happen more often than not. Wake up with trash. And so Steve, keeping it going, got his mojo back. He can, flex the muscles,
That's right.
throw the elbows. He can lose, several, well, not several, but a few pots here and there. He can take the risk, but the risk is on the other players right now.
Yeah, he's very good at applying pressure in certain spots like that.
And we're on a pretty good bubble with 5 players.
Yep.
Fifth place is about 6,600, and fourth place is 8,400.
Yeah, the jumps now are definitely really significant. And for those of you just joining us here, we are at the final 5 players of this 100K guaranteed final table.
Mentioned before, but the dog is at home. The dog sends me to bed more often than not. We're at home, and it's like between 9:30 and 10, and the dog will jump off, look to do his last potty run, and then run to his little cage that he sleeps in overnight. Even though it's not in sleeping position, that's what he's doing. He's telling me, so he can't make the overnight. Tomorrow he'll be grumpy, If he doesn't have his coffee, forget it. And I'm not going to be there for the coffee in the morning.
And Steve making a very standard button raise with Ace Jack. Blinds both fold their raggedy hands, and now he's
pick up a real hand once in a while.
And look at this. Steve has over half the chips in play. There's 15 million chips in play. He has 7.6 million. He is obviously the dominant favorite to win this right now. And obviously, it's getting late, but I want this tournament to play out. I do not want to see it chop.
It would be fun. I mean, I don't think it would take that long.
It's true. In 5 minutes here, these blinds are going up again. I believe it's going to be 150,000, 300,000, which is just going to...
That's insane.
Force this tournament to be near an end.
And just so you know, at Stones, they obviously it's the players' tournament. It's the players' money, so they have an option to make a deal and chop up the remaining prize pool in whatever fashion they agree to. It's usually done pretty quickly, and the players here aren't that concerned with ICM and all. Maybe it'll be different with Karen here and Steve. I don't know. But they do have a rule also. You can vote on it, and if it's not unanimous, then there can be no more voting until another player is knocked out. So there would have to be another elimination to even think about another vote. But any player can bring up the proposition and they can vote on it.
And Steve is just continuing with the gas pedal down, raises to 480,000 from the cutoff with ace-5, and gets Sean to fold his ace-7 on the button and takes it down again.
And there's no reason to think he's going to stop doing this. He goes over 8 million. 28,800 for first. So we're looking at 5 spots here, and you're looking at 43, 53, 60, 67, 68,000 left among the 5.
Yep.
There's not going to be an even chop, of course, but you can get an idea of trying to get more money for your 5th place for hanging around for Texas Jack and for Tom. And that's what they're thinking about right now. But, or not. They haven't been in this spot before.
And probably see Steve raise here again for the 4th time in a row.
I mean, you look at Tom and Texas Jack, and they're looking at $6,600 right now.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, really? I went to play poker at Stones and I made $6,600, and so they don't care. They're going to hang out, and basically they're just trying to outlast each other. So, and
Tom sees in the big blind here extremely short. There he is. I'm glad he realizes he has to get it in here, and he's going to be drawing live.
They played great to get to this spot, no matter what happens.
And Tom C is at risk now with the Queen 3 of diamonds.
On his feet, the appropriate all-in position. The Queen Tray at risk against the Ace 9. So Queen Tray, Tom's looking for the double up, and not there.
Tom looking for running diamonds, running straights, or a queen or a 3.
And it's a 10 of hearts, so it just comes down to the face value of the cards. Queen or 3 for Tom. It's another 10, and so Tom is out. He's our 5th place finisher. He came in as basically the short stack. He and Texas Jack, basically the identical stacks, and what a run.
$120 buy-in turned into over $6,000.
Yeah, about $6,600.
$6,600. Great run, Tom. Perfect example of laddering up and letting other people knock each other out and waiting back. And
yeah, he made some folds we might not have agreed with, but Steve with his 3rd knockout, and this a guy, as we mentioned, is down to just a few big blinds.
Yep.
And really, and in the not too distant past,
Yep.
And so it's been an amazing turnaround for him. So now 4-handed, we're looking at a minimum payout of about $8,400. And the man who was our short stack is still here in the Dallas Cowboy wear. So now with elimination, if there was talk of a chop, they're allowed to bring that back up.
I would imagine with Texas Jack being so short here, there's not going to be any chop talk just yet.
Right.
Was there 3 or 2 players? Okay, yeah.
Looks like Kieran's really deciding what to do here.
Coming down the end of this level.
I believe they were short on the ante there.
30,000 now. in 30 seconds. I'm not sure if the ante goes up or not. We'll take a look. They've been pretty consistent with raising the ante with every level.
And she's getting really aggressive here, and she's raising to 2.5 times the big blind with Jack 3 of hearts. And Steve is going to defend for 300,000 more with King Deuce offsuit.
What's wrong with Jack 3? Nothing wrong with Jack 3. Oh!
And look at this.
Oh, with a
Steve
king.
flops top pair. Karen flops bottom 2.
Karen has a knack for
Lon
doing
won
that.
a big pot I commentated on at the final Taylor Stones a couple weeks ago with Jack 3, where he raised pre-flop and
Against
flop.
Ernie, we have to mention Ernie,
Yes.
one of the employees here with the
And
floor.
Jack 3 has some final table magic to it, I guess, here at Stones.
So. I know Karen probably watched that final table that I played with. I won 2 hands with Jack 3, so obviously she understands.
And look at this. Steve check raises all in, and Karen calls.
What a turnaround
Wow. This is a really big pot. This is going to give Karen a big chip lead here if she holds. She's 77% favorite with bottom 2. She loves her spot.
here. That is just a sickening moment for Steve, who had rebuilt his stack into a dominating position and now just 1 card away from losing this lead to Karen.
He's looking for an 8, a king, or a deuce. That will not do it. Would have really liked to see Steve fold pre-flop for 300,000 in the position he's in. But wow, what a perfect hand for Karen.
It comes through right at the end of that level.
Wow.
And so the players are on a break. That hand went about 1.5 minutes into the break, and what a well, maybe a good time for Steve to go on break.
Yeah. It's
Absolutely. It has been tough. But what?
Wow.
I mean, it's been a pretty fun final table. I mean, you have so many stories out there.
Yeah.
And rooting for, of course, our guy, Texas Jack. There. I don't know. He's going to be the man tomorrow.
We'll see.
But the 2 big stacks keep beating each other up. So for folks who are watching this, and they wouldn't hear us, they're not watching it. As far as taking something away from this table, are you seeing any lessons out there, overall lessons, something that you might relate to your students when you get back into the classroom?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's, once again, a lot to be said about when you have a chip stack of under 10 big blinds. With most all hands, it's just all on or fold. You know, you've seen it tonight at this final table. Numerous spots where people are raising to 2.5 times the big blind with less than 10 bigs and are forced to fold because they just don't have a strong enough hand to call. And I think that those are perfect examples of spots where you just have to decide, okay, I'm all in or I'm folding. If you really are putting yourself in a position where you're going to raise to 2.5 times the big blind and fold, just fold your hand pre-flop and save those chips. Extra round of blinds where you can wait for a better spot.
And if you feel, I mean, you really have to be careful in choosing those hands.
Yes.
You know, I was in contact with a friend, in Chris Hinchcliffe,
Yes.
who played the tournament, finished I think 17th or 18th here. Very good player.
Yep.
But he was texting me and giving me some updates, and he had a huge stack early on. And then he sent a note that I was on the bad end of a tough hand, and he was down to 9 big blinds or 6 big blinds, but he hung around forever.
Yeah.
He says, I love 6 big blind play. A little sarcastic, but still, your decisions are few. The thinking is taken out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it can be very beneficial. It can be very freeing. And it actually is a spot that can create a lot of learning moments for a player.
Yep.
That helps them, because a lot of people, like our older short stacks out there, gentlemen, it's hard to put all those chips at risk if you haven't done it.
Yep.
Once you do it and everyone folds, it's like it almost like breaks a dam mentally inside you, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh wow, this can work.
Yeah.
But it's getting yourself to walk through that fire the first time.
Yep.
It's difficult.
Yep.
And so take a lesson, try it. I mean, people say you need to free your mind in so many ways. It's like fold pocket aces pre-flop once. just to say you did it. I mean, just for the experiences,
I've folded aces 3 or 4 times pre-flop in my life.
Is that right?
Because it was in
you bubble time?
It was a satellite bubble situation where I've got a huge chip stack and can fold my way in 100%. So there would be no point in playing it. That's the only time that you should ever fold aces pre-flop.
Right. I mean, it's just. I mean, if it's obviously not a big moment, but it's just like you have to break barriers when you play a game.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, and the game is about going outside your own comfort zone. It's about putting other people in outside their comfort zone, and you have to go there too to do that. And so, if it's not a high buy-in, if it's a cash game maybe or something like that, you know, test yourself. See how far you can test yourself and expand your horizon. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the rest of the year for you is just teaching.
Yep.
Not a lot of. You got the deep stacks coming up.
Yeah, WT. Yeah,
Yeah.
deep stacks coming up next week, and just focus on continuing to play mainly online right now. And
What have you seen in this area as far? I mean, I've only been here a few years, and the growth in the poker community has been amazing.
it really, it's been very substantial. Yeah, there's just. I mean, the nice thing about this little area is when there are nice tournaments in town like this, you've got everyone coming over from the Bay Area, the Reno crowds coming over. But yeah, I feel like there has been a very big
Every tour
growth here in
comes through
Sacramento.
Here.
Yeah,
Every tour. I'd heard rumors. Unfortunately, somebody not in position of authority, but confirming them that the Shooting Stars event is basically done. For Bay 101. Bay 101 has a new facility. I just happened to go in last week and haven't been in there before. But there have been rumors that the Shooting Star event was going to go, and it's I think it's probably the most popular stop. I mean, for viewers and for the pros. And it helps the area up here because Sacramento WPT event was happening right after that. And so I don't know if that's going to hurt the draw. You know, I think it will.
Yeah, it will.
So I don't know what the reasons are behind that, whether they just don't want to have big tournaments come through Bay 101 or not. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea on that one. I thought that was a tournament that would be set in stone there for a long time. So
Yeah, exactly.
surprising.
One thing I did think of, it's great to see Karen here. I mean, we don't see a lot of women making final tables. We need more women in the poker room playing. We have to make it friendly for them to be here.
She's a player. I played with her actually a couple times in tournaments.
She's scary
she's
to play
aggressive and she definitely knows what's up. She's playing very good poker and she's a massive chip lead here now. So.
Yeah, and those mixed games players, like I mentioned, she finished 9th in a horse event in Las Vegas just the other day, flying back and forth between here and her home in the Bay Area and Las Vegas. But as far as mixed games go, I don't know. I'm up in the air on whether how much the mixed games help the hold'em, or is it the other way around? What are your feelings on mixed games and benefit to no limit hold'em?
That's a really good question. I mean, I definitely think that overall it probably hurt Hold'em, you know.
That's what I was thinking.
But you know, I hear the talk all the time. I hear the conversation. Do you think that Omaha? Do you think that Paul Omaha is going to be the number one game over Texas Hold'em in upcoming years? I don't think so. I really don't. I think Texas Hold'em is pretty
much more
set.
difficult.
Yes, and I think Texas Hold'em is pretty set. I think it's set in stone. So I mean, I really don't think there's really too much damage that any popularity of mixed games could really do at this point. I think
your high-end players might gravitate to that PLO type format. But for the people who are new to the game, as I mentioned, it's so easy to learn this game. I mean, and not to say that we know that Hold'em is a very complicated game.
Yes.
But to be able to pick it up and understand it and get in the fray, you don't need that deep of understanding. You get into, deep waters of PLO or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, exactly. So just under a minute left, and we've seen, some. How long were we with 9-handed? And then 8-handed was for a couple hours as well.
8-handed, I think it took 2.5 hours in here to get our second elimination, so this has just been an absolute marathon.
And more than we expected, and rightly so, as we mentioned, with the super short stacks. You know, they were gonna have to just play it right. You don't want to double them up, but you want to keep them around, keep them short.
Yep.
And we saw some of the middle stacks go out because we did have the 2 short stacks, who we just lost Tom, but we still have Texas Jack, and he'll be there. So hope you're enjoying it. If you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to chime in. If you've got the Morning Chronicle on your porch, please look for the headlines.
That's right.
It's probably about that time of day. See if anybody checked in for anything. All right, so they went 122.40. The players are going to break on the blinds. Still 30,000 on the ante. That would have been a big jump to go to 153, I guess.
Yeah, this is really nice. They have all these in-between levels here. Here we go. Texas Jack shoved all in with King Queen and took it down.
Still with 5 big blinds. Sean with 8. And pretty good horse race up top.
Yeah, Karen and Steve there with... I didn't realize Steve still has so many chips left after that one. He's still right there.
So this would inhibit any talk of a chop. Or no, maybe not talk, but voting for a chop with the 2 short stacks against the 2 big stacks.
I still wouldn't mind talking about a chop deal in this place, but I know that the number that I would want is not going to be given to me most likely because I'm going to want a lot here if I'm Steve or Karen. Texas Jack trying to decide what to do. King Jack offsuit. Gotta shovel in. Gotta shovel in with this stack. You absolutely have to. You've got 5.5 big blinds. There it is. There it is.
There's the yellow disc.
Steve on the button with ace deuce of clubs. The problem with this is you have 2 players behind you. But he is going to call.
So Texas Jack at risk officially. And behind.
Karen with Queen 9. Not much of a decision here. Can't imagine her calling here really ever.
I mean, she'd have to figure herself to be in 3rd place, really.
Yeah, and more importantly, you're going to be out of position to Steve. There could be a lot of really difficult. You know, you're literally asking to be put into a difficult spot here, out of position against the other big stack.
Karen getting an exact count on Texas Jack shove, which is around 1.3 million. And the big blind she's already got 200 or 2.4 million. What's the blind?
Yep, 120,000, 240,000.
240. Yeah, I saw an extra 0 there with the blurry hour. Sure, give it up.
Fold?
Yep.
And since he's won every all in here so far today, let's just make that clear.
We should have a second number. The realistic number, not the math number. But the King Jack at risk against the Ace Deuce. But King Jack has to hit something to stick around. And there is...
Ace 5 for the $28,000 score.
And the man hating it most is Sean.
Oh.
Sean thought he could get rid of Texas Jack.
Oh, that is so disheartening there with that flop coming out.
Oh my goodness, it was all heartening, almost.
Yes, exactly, man.
But Steve, once again, paying off. But he's at least paying off the short stack. So not as painful as it could.
Makes the correct call pre-flop and... This is a marathon.
Take a while for Texas Jack to stack those winnings. So Sean now with single-digit big blinds, the man with the target on his back. Fourth place, about $8,400. Third place, over 10,600 or so. So a jump of a couple of thousand now is the bubble. Steve's happy to fold right there. Just shake off that last hand.
That's right. Here we go, Sean. Looks like he is putting in a min raise to 480,000 on the button with 5 high. And Karen decides to call with 10-3 of diamonds.
Can you blame her?
As if she has x-ray vision and can see his 5-4.
Texas Jack folding an ace.
Wow, ace-8.
Yeah.
For just a min raise. Really surprised by that, even from him. Queen Jack 7.
10 high is best here for Karen.
And now, if you're Sean, you have to put a bet here, I guess. Nope, he checks
Good
back.
check. Now
Three
Karen
on the
with a
turn.
3 pairs up. So it's Sean still with 2 overcards to her pair.
And Sean now does have a gutter ball. Decides to check back, looking for a 4, 5, or 6. And there it is. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Limping in with 4, 5 of diamonds and hitting the runner. Absolute nuts. And he's going to have to basically...
Karen checked, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, we're back to the plaque mess here. He shoved. Did he shove? Or that? Oh, that's just his yellow card protector, I think.
Second place is 5. Third place is getting fourth place. Third place is getting second place. Yeah, exactly. And first is
So we're going to count exactly on Sean's wager.
And Karen lays it down.
650.
I'm really surprised by her small blind call there pre-flop.
basically getting second place.
Well, she's been successful in that position before.
That's right.
So Sean, just when he was looking very desperate, still is desperate with 11 bigs, but that was a nice pot to pick up early, a builder in his mind. You can see not very many, so there's 15 million chips on board, but not that many big blinds out there.
Yep.
So now the shorter stacks picking up a little more equity in the prize pool. And as we've seen, it can go, and Steve is a great example. You know, anything is possible out there. I mean, his chips went away quickly. They came back, not so quickly, but still, they came back in abundance and exponentially. Thank you for your money, Tom. Enjoy yours. Takes his leave. Drive carefully.
Karen on the button with Queen 5 offsuit. Decides to lay it down. Texas Jack in the small blind with King Jack offsuit. Expect to see a raise here. And it looks like he raising to 420,000. So he's going to have to put another 60,000 in to complete this to a minimum raise to 480,000. And I expect Steve to defend here for one more big blind with Queen 7 in position.
Steve still thinking about this?
Thank you.
Texas Jack has a stack that can hurt Steve.
Yeah, he does. And I think there might be some thought. I think Steve might be thinking right there whether Texas Jack was trying to raise or not, because he did put in an incomplete raise. So he might be thinking, nope.
So it's just a call, right?
And I believe he just calls.
All right.
Queen in the window. Queen 5 deuce with 2 spades. We'll see if Texas Jack decides to continuation bet or not.
Boy, it's cost him.
And here he is reaching for chips.
Yeah. Steve with top pair and Texas Jack feeling a C-bet is what's called for.
Looks like a 600,000 C-bet. And I believe
raise?
Steve has moved all in.
Yeah.
And Texas Jack is going to have to lay it down. And when you really rewind this hand and really dissect it, I think it's really important to talk about, you know, when it folds to your little blind. Texas Jack started the hand with right around 12 big blinds. Really would just like to see him just shove it all in out of the small blind. You're only facing one hand to run into. You're taking it down a massive percentage of the time and just increasing your stack and moving on to the next hand rather than this scenario happening.
Rather than what's happening here.
Yep.
Exactly. And Queen 7 goes away with a shove.
I mean, if Texas Jack shoves all in out of the small blind for 12 bigs, I'd imagine Steve is probably going to lay a lot of even weak aces down,
right.
Especially with Texas Jack's table image.
Oh, just be careful, everybody. Chip dropped out there, which could almost indicate a call.
Call floor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. RDirk86 in the chat says if you're going to c-bet any board, then you should just jam 12 big blinds pre-flop, and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to one of the early lessons. I remember going to one of the WSOP academies, and though she's kind of vilified now, but Annie Duke was teaching them, and she basically was, would slap you for limping pre-flop. She says, okay, if you limp, are you going to call that raise? Well, yeah, probably. Well, why don't you be the raiser? You be the initial raiser. Again, it's looking forward. What are your actions going to be if, you're going to react to the reaction? If you're going to call somebody's 3-bet, well, then you be the aggressor. And that's exactly the situation that Texas Jack found himself in. It's been that way a couple times. That we've seen, a little wet behind the ears, obviously. Brand new situation there, and he does make the call.
Wow, he made the call. He really was thinking about it.
Yes.
Wow, I am shocked. I'm shocked, especially
Well,
from Texas Jack.
It is surprising. And, you know, he must have thought that the big stack, you know, missed and was trying to bully him off the hand. But right now, Texas Jack is behind. His king is live. He has nothing else to hang his hat on. You see his outs are the 3 kings right now to try to double up once again through Steve. And it'll be a huge double up. Maybe into the chip lead.
Let's put a 10 on the turn just to make it interesting.
Oh,
9 on the turn, so Texas Jack now needs a 10 or a king.
Or he is
stay
done.
alive,
Or he
yes.
is done. Texas
Or he is
Jack.
bamboozled.
Yeah, or Jilly Wonkered. The river card, the 8 of diamonds, and it brings an end to a fabulous tournament for Texas Jack, knocked out by Steve. Yet another knockout. I think it's his 4th of this final table.
Wow.
And Texas Jack goes away. And what a nice payday for him. $8,400
Oh, man.
for Texas Jack. Never been really to a final table. You know, he was nervous coming in. He was the short stack. 740,000 is what he had, and to start the table. And he goes away in 4th place.
Very nice run, Texas Jack. Good game.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Absolutely.
congratulations.
All right, so Steve with another knockout. We have an update. Thank you. We'll hang on to that. So Steve,
Justin, do you want the chips too, or you don't care?
they got the 4th place finisher, the 5th place finisher, the 7th place finisher, and the 8th place finisher. But it hasn't been that easy. I mean, he doesn't have the stack right now that would reflect that.
And this is the position that you dream about getting to when you first start playing this tournament. 3-handed. Everyone now is guaranteed, I believe, 15,000, or excuse me, 10,000. Everyone's guaranteed 10,600. And this is where the pay up jumps get really big. There's $5,200 difference between 3rd and 2nd, and a $13,000 difference between 2nd and 1st. 28,800 goes to the winner. For those of you just joining us, we are here in Citrus Heights, California, just outside of Sacramento. It is 6 minutes away from being 3 in the morning here.
Oh, you had to say
And,
that. I was avoiding that.
Yeah,
but I'm glad you brought it up, because if people are watching this on, you know, rewind at some point in the future, that's why we're acting this way. It's 3 in the morning.
It's 3 in the morning. 3 in the morning. And these guys started today at 11 a.m., so they have been in for
That is
quite
a tough day, yeah.
a marathon. Yeah, this is
I mean, I think the final table is different. You're going to perk up for a final table.
yeah. They are approaching the 16-hour mark here.
And not only them, but everyone who's worked the tournament, including Justin and not all the floor staff. But apparently, they are interested in getting a number for a potential chop. And with that elimination of the Texas Jack, sad to say, that they may be voting if they get the right numbers, if they come into an agreement. Now, there are different ways to chop. You mentioned ICM,
Yep.
and it is basically just based on their chip stack, basically, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the percentage of their chip stack compared to the overall chips, the
But it's not
percentage
it's
of
not a straight exact value
Right.
of your chips. So if you have 70% of the chips in play, you're not going to get 70% of the payout.
Why?
ICM is basically accounting for the fact that if you were to continue play, the short stack has the potential to double up a couple times
There'd
and
be
change
fluctuation
the game.
in
Yeah,
the game.
so
So who's making that model?
that's a good question. I don't know who actually came up with the ICM.
I mean, I know it's
model.
possible, but it's also possible there could be a double all-in on the next hand, and the chip leader will walk away with it all,
That's
right?
true. It's basically just saying that the short stack has the
probably-
power to still come back and win. So
Right.
you're if you have, say, 15% of the chips here, you're gonna get paid more than 15% of
let's-
the remaining prize pool.
before we figure out what they're doing, and we'll compare if indeed they do something here. So the next 3 payouts, basically rounding down, we'll say, are 10, 15, and 28, just so you know. So 10, 15, and 28. And so the players are getting an exact count on their chips right now. So it is obvious that they are using the ICM model here. Module, and tournament director, Justin Gauranteed, who brought in this beast called the Quantum.
Yes.
And so many people in the area are happy.
Yeah, this is an awesome tournament.
And they do, you know, I mean, if Stones is just, has, to be honest, is licensing this format, and the people who own the Quantum idea, I guess, you know, run it elsewhere.
Yep.
And so you can see it elsewhere. I don't think it's limited to California. I haven't checked that out, but I know I was looking on their Twitter account, and they do run it here and there, and you can. It's an interesting way. I mean, do you think that Texas Hold'em is at a point where it needs a little, I don't want to say showbiz to it, but it's not just a straight tournament. They've got to do something a little different too.
Yeah, I love you know, the different interesting tournaments that are run out there, and Stones here is, Justin, our tournament director, is always looking for new ideas, and I love the different dynamics you can put into tournaments. The tournament they had here a couple months ago was the Win the Button tournament.
Oh, I know. I was out of town for that one.
I loved that one.
Did you? Yeah.
Every single hand, the player that wins the hand gets the button the next hand. So there was.
Do the blinds still go around in order, or do the next 2 players become the blind?
I had a position where I was the short stack in that tournament with about 15 big blinds, and the guy 2 seats to my right, who is chip leader, won 5 hands in a row.
Oh my gosh,
So
you were crushed.
I went from 10. With an ante, I went from 14 bigs down to I think 7 in 5 hands because I got hit with the big blind 5 hands in a row and the ante 5 hands in a row. The nightmare.
Oh wow.
But no, it was a great tournament. It created so much action. Everyone was just bluffing and wanting to win the hand so badly to have the button. And yeah, like you said, you know, I think that Texas Hold'em is at a point where we need to find different ideas like that and interesting dynamics in these tournaments to make it even more fun and new.
Yeah, I mean, we started seeing it. You rarely see rebuy events.
Yeah.
Anymore. The re-entry events, but you know, rebuy events. You know, I don't remember the last. I mean,
they're definitely
they went away. So
yeah, they're definitely only online right now. It seems
the
like.
move is to have a little shtick, a little showbiz, a little something different. But it's great because it gets people thinking about the game. It gets people thinking, what are the benefits of starting on day one with 120, or should I come in and just go for the 240? Or as 4 of our final tablists did, buy in today for 900 and bypass the 20 hours of play.
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
And so it's interesting to see how people, you know, rate it. I guess it depends on your own style of play as well. You know, do you hate grinding out those early hours because it does take it out of you? Are you the type who will enter a tournament late to avoid those early grinds, or are you there on time? I like to get there on time just because I like.
I'm not gonna lie. If you ever see me walk into a tournament late, which is gonna happen from time to time, it's just because I woke up too late.
Because you were
on
late.
accident. But I really do think that there is just so much value in these live tournaments when the blinds are small, because you've got a lot of beginner players are making mistakes, and there's just so much value. And you know, when you have the blinds starting at 2550 with a 20,000 starting stack, everyone's really deep. You can really capitalize on weaker players, capitalize on, as I call them, payoff artists, payoff wizards, that just can't fold hands and in certain situations. So I think you have to be there for those beginning levels. In fact, I'm always honestly really shocked by Phil Hellmuth, who to me is the perfect example of a guy that would capitalize on the deep stack, careful type of game that he plays. And yet he's well known. It's a well-known thing that Phil Hellmuth always late registers tournaments well into them. And that
I was just saying, come to the main event.
That always baffles me.
I mean, I agree.
I feel like he'd have more success if he were to come in right when the game starts.
And I'm wondering, I mean, but he's always done that, hadn't he? So I was thinking, as they get older, they don't want to play the longer hours, and that does.
That's definitely part of it, I guess.
And I do see a lot of people talk about, you know, getting, you know, they're playing a shorter day, and so if they're there on day 3.
Gosh, I never think about that.
Yeah.
I hope I never think about that.
Yeah.
No matter what age I get to.
But yeah, it's very interesting because I think there's so much value in building a big stack early, because in those middle levels, it becomes so much more valuable. Of
course.
You know.
Of course.
And when you can push people around.
Just when I came into your table at that World Series of Poker table a couple weeks ago. I came in a little late. I think I was.
Yeah, you were.
I think I was like an hour late. And sure enough, I come in and look around. There's 2 or 3 guys at the table that have. It was a 20,000 starting stack. A couple of guys at the table at 35, 40,000.
Right.
Like, man, I missed.
Yeah.
I missed
Exactly.
that little beginning part there. And talking about different dynamics of tournaments, Spittle27 here in the chat just says, "Is it true some tournaments allow you to take chips off the table and add to your rebuy stack if you bust early?"
To your re-entry stack? Oh no, you can't.
You can't do that, but what that reminds me of is Stones hosted a tournament here. I commentated on for the final table a month or 2 ago, and I had never heard of this dynamic. I'd never heard of this structure. That it was a bounty tournament where you get the bounty chip, and obviously that's a cash value.
Oh right, yes.
But you
yes.
have the option of turning that bounty chip in at the current point in time
for X number of big
for
blinds.
10 big blinds
Right.
at that point. And so there actually was, and it drove us nuts. If you guys remember that one, if any of you watched that, there was a guy who ended up finishing in second place for, I believe, $5,200. It was a $300 buy-in. He ended up finishing second place for $5,200, and he said afterwards, he goes, "This was exactly what I wanted to do," because he wanted to avoid, I guess, the IRS 5K profit mark.
Oh right.
And
There
so
was a lot
he
of.
profited, I think, $4,952. I literally missed it by a smidge, and it was driving us nuts because he had somewhere around, I think, 8 or 9. I think he had 9 bounty chips
that
on
would
the
have
table
given him 90 big blinds.
that would have given him, if he would have turned those in at any point in time, 6-handed or less at that table, he would have had chip lead times 4.
Really?
And yet he hung on to him as the
You didn't
short
want to pay the
stack,
IRS?
and he didn't. Yeah, he it was just.
Put his name out.
Oh my
there. Put
gosh!
his name out.
Yeah, it was incredible. But I think tournaments like that's such an interesting dynamic. I would
Yeah.
love to see more tournaments like that.
I love it when people have to think about the strategy.
Yeah, there's other strategy now. Other
Yeah,
than the cards,
exactly,
we're
not just
talking about
the
strategy of bounty and when should I turn these chips in.
It's all game theory. It's all
Yeah.
part of
New game theory.
the game. New game theory.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it is. But also, what that does is so often when you're thinking about one thing and one intricate part of a certain strategy, it triggers your mind to start thinking a different way of another part of the game, and that builds your knowledge of the game and makes you a better player.
That's right. And Stone's Live Poker here the tournament I'm talking about was called the Assassin.
Okay,
the
right.
Assassin's
Yeah.
Bounty Tournament.
Yeah.
And that was a good one. That was a very fun one.
And they're always trying something new. Like I said, and there was Justin, who was the brainchild behind a lot of them, and I will come up to him and I said, "Where did this idea come from?" And he just sits there. He says, "I was just thinking about it." And he looks at so many other tournaments and talks to so many other tournament directors and basically are brainstorming what can be different.
Yep.
So it looks like they have come to some sort of payment structure. Justin is handing out the voting cards. Each player is given a card that says yes and no, and Karen, like the others, will put their vote in and then have to discard their non-voting card, and then they'll turn them over. It has to be a unanimous decision to decide exactly on what is going to happen. And I'm not sure Sean put his in yet. You're still thinking about it. Sean, you should get any deal you can. So all 3 cards are in, and now they will get rid of their discards, not to confuse anything, and the dealer will turn over the hands. Can we see the flop cam? Flop cam be good here. And yes, yes, yes. And there you go. All right, so they have come to a decision. Thank you.
There we go.
And the numbers are in. You want to give us the numbers, Michael?
Yes, so the ICM chop, Sean finished with 2.6 million in chips and got 15,022.
All right, well, compare that to our numbers before. It was 10,006 for third place, so he's
Yep.
picking up almost
He's basically picking
5,000
up
more.
almost exactly, very close to second place money.
Yep.
Karen, 5.5 million in chips, is going to take $19,208.
So second place was worth 15,800, so she gets better than second place money.
And Steve finished with 7.2 million in chips, and he's taking away 21,053. So
It's
wow.
7,000
Very nice,
less. Interesting.
Yep.
But it's guaranteed. He's picking up 7,000 or 6,000 more than second place.
Yep.
Not first place money, but it is.
Yeah, I think
first place money.
Yeah, this is a great deal for all three players. I mean,
Especially
it's a very
considering where Steve went with his stack.
exactly. Yeah, and obviously all three of those players recognized. Okay, all three of us have some game.
Mm-hmm.
They all know what they're doing. It's pretty easy to tell that from their play tonight. And anything can happen. I mean, the blinds are going to go up here in 9 minutes. It's going to create a lot of standard spots to get it in with king queen suited and ace 10 and different things. And
Right.
you're going to be flipping a lot of coins and.
And three-handed, everything comes around so quickly.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to play most hands.
Yep.
And any flop could hit anybody. And it just takes that element out of the game. Yeah, it would be great to see. I mean, I miss heads up. I love watching heads up.
Yeah.
And that would have been a lot of fun. But it's like I said, players' tournament. They can do what they want. And so your takeaway of this first quantum event. I know you've been talking about it a lot. You've been very
Oh
excited
man!
about it.
Yes, it was such a good tournament. I really hope. In fact, talking with Justin earlier this week, he said that they really hope to possibly do this tournament twice a year and
Great.
bring it back. And it was definitely a huge success. I know
We have to play it next time.
Yes,
We'll get somebody else in.
we'll
here.
definitely play it next time. Yes. Yeah, it was great. Thanks to Justin Curitis for putting it together and running it as always. And thank you to all of you for making the chat entertaining as always. And thank you for joining us here on this late hours. No matter where you are in the world, we really appreciate you joining us in with us tonight. And I have to say personally, I've been looking forward to the show for a long time. It's once again, it's a great honor to be here with you. And
Sir, thank you. I've always admired your play.
Thank you very much.
It's been fun. So hopefully not the last of Lon and Loncar.
that's right. Let's bring it back.
Yes, it is now early morning, and for our who we had Romania, we had some Australian, we had some
New Zealand, yeah.
Oregonians, some New Zealanders as well. Hope you all enjoyed it, and. Next time, we got I guess Monday night there'll be a live stream on Stones. There'll be a Wednesday stream. Next Sunday is the last Sunday event. Probably one of the best value local tournaments you're going to get on a regular basis
Yes.
here in this area. $300. And if you're lucky enough, you can chop for $7,500. Who knows?
That's right.
Who knows? We'll be there. Anyway, thanks again, sir. Thanks to our entire crew that stayed up very late and did a great job. And of course, to all the players who played in the Quantum that made it such a success. We'll see you next time on Stones Live from Stones Gambling Hall in Citrus Heights. For Michael Loncar, I'm Lon McEachern. Good night, everybody. Good morning.